This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
They're coming inside the final 16th. Here is Gio Ponti, just as well as charging hard. Stotsfold is third. Gio Ponti adds the million to his grade 1 collection. Storming Line leads them in the final furlong and a half. Here comes Admiral Kitten's charge now. Toward the inside is Jack Milton, then Viziani. Down for the final half furlong. Admiral Kitten has taken the lead now for Rosie Napravnik in the Secretariat Stakes. Admiral Kitten on top.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Latia in front with a furlong to go. Latia, solid appeal, and here comes Dank, who's gone right past them both. It's Dank and Ryan Moore. Dank is pulling away as Europe keeps its hold on the Beverly D, and Dank with an emphatic 5-length win.
Wild final furlong coming here in the Sword Dancer, and here comes Point of Entry, who's running to daylight. Point of Entry coming down to the line. Al Kelly then moves down toward the rail in brilliant speed. And in the Hall of Fame hands of Johnny Velasquez, and a Hall of Fame ride it was. Point of Entry wins the Sword Dancer.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Well, good morning once again, everyone. Happy to have you with me. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. This, of course, the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires, and it is all right here on HRRN. Happy to have you back in the saddle with me for the next 3 hours on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Well, what's happening in the world of thoroughbred racing on this second Saturday in August? Well, first, you have the first Kentucky Derby winner ever to race at Colonial Downs, making his turf debut in the Grade 1 Arlington Million. That's a race, by the way, in which the favorite is trained by Hall of Famer Shug McGaughey, who, despite all of his big wins in his Hall of Fame career, has yet to add the million to his resume. Maybe today is the day. That card, by the way, also includes the Grade 2 Beverly D, Grade 2 Secretariat. Shug is going to be with me at 8:35 Eastern to talk about his contenders in the Arlington Million. You're also going to hear from Dave Zenner from Colonial Downs coming up at 9:20. He will talk about some of the special wagers put together for this day, and of course he'll touch on the Beverly D, the Secretariat, and the other stakes races. Also in the turf division, you have a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf with the Sword Dancer later today at the Spa. You have the red-hot Miguel Clement, who has the favorite in that race with Far Bridge. He's going to join me to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. That segment comes your way at 9 o'clock. So we're going to cover all those big storylines for you here this morning. Plus, we are only 19 days away from the opening of the Kentucky Downs race meet in Franklin, Kentucky. Vice President of Racing Ted Nicholson will join me at 9:40 Eastern to look ahead to some of the things you can watch for at the Kentucky Downs meet. And by the way, horsemen, you want to pay attention to that one because we're going to talk about some of the incentives and the high purses and all those types of things that you can benefit from when racing at Kentucky Downs this summer. The other cool thing, at least in my opinion anyway, as we sit here in early August, the optimism for the future stars of our sport may never be higher thanks to another record-shattering edition of the Fasig-Tipton Saratoga sale this past week. The $4.1 million sale topper, which was consigned by Hillendale, who was acting as agent for Don Alberto Corporation, and purchased by Coolmore and White Birch Farm, was the most expensive Saratoga yearling sold since 2000. Think about that. The RNA, this is how good the sale was. The RNA, or buyback rate, was just 11.6%. That number is the lowest at this sale since 1981. In total, 25 yearlings sold for $1 million or higher over the course of the two nights. And that just destroyed the previous record of $14 million yearlings sold over two nights, which was set in 2021. So I think it leads not just to optimism for the horses that were purchased and sold for so much money, but optimism for our industry and for the future of this sport when so often the headlines want to focus on some of the negatives. This is an extremely positive thing. There's a lot of money in the sport right now. And there's a lot of people from outside the sport that have been successful in whether it's another sport or another industry that are playing our game of thoroughbred racing. And that was evident over the 2 nights of the Fasig-Tipton Saratoga sale. And that's a good thing. You're going to hear from Jared Burdine, who is the general manager at Hillendale. He'll be with me in just a few minutes at 8:15 Eastern. He's going to talk about what it was like being there as this youngster stepped into the ring and the bidding continued to climb. And eventually, as I mentioned, capped off at $4.1 million. So he'll join me in just a few minutes. That should be a fun interview. He'll talk. He's also going to share his thoughts on why he believed all along that this horse really did stand out. And you're talking about a selected yearling sale. It's hard to stand out in a sale like that because everybody looks good. Everybody has a great pedigree. But Jared truly believed this horse was something different. This horse was special. And now we can optimistically look forward to his future. Poll question today. Who is going to win the Arlington Million at Colonial Downs? I mentioned Shug McGaughey has the favorite. That's Integration, so we'll give you him. How about Cairo? Irish-bred Cairo. Mystic Dan, the Derby winner. Let's throw him into the mix. And then if you think it's somebody other than those 3, just click somebody else and then comment and let me know which horse other than those 3 you feel is going to win the Arlington Million later today. Maybe not the most riveting, stellar, strongest edition of the Arlington Million we've seen over the years. But I do think it's a good betting race. So who will win today's Arlington Million at Colonial Downs? Integration, Cairo, Mystic Dan, somebody else. You can go to @HRRN on X to cast your vote. You can do that too, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show. If you don't do social media, that's cool. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts, and I'll update the poll question as we move throughout the show. Time now to check in with Lee Delapina for the answer to this week's impossible. Well, not the answer. I can't give the answer to you yet, but he does have the question for you here this morning right off the bat. The answer comes your way later in the show. Lee, what do you got, man?
Thank you, Mike. In 1937, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney starred in their very first film together in a movie in which Mickey Rooney plays a cocky young jockey who gets mixed up with some crooked gamblers. What was the title of this film? And here's a little hint. You can get the answer in today's Legends of the Turf story. But no Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right, I love it. The Legends of the Turf comes up at right around 8:30 Eastern, and the answer comes up right around 10:55 Eastern time, and I'll pass that question along later in the program for you as well. So here's the full guest lineup. You have Jared Burdine from Hillendale coming up in just a few minutes, 8:15 Eastern. Hall of Famer Shug McGaughey right around 8:35. 9 o'clock Eastern, hour 2 begins with our Road to the Breeders' Cup segment. Miguel Clement joins me for that one. Dave Zenner at 9:20, Ted Nicholson at 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern, hour 3 kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. James Scully will give you 3 races to watch and wager later today. Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20, remembering Smarty Jones, who was recently inducted into Horse Racing's Hall of Fame. That should be a fantastic story, as Kurt's stories always tend to be. And at 10:30, I Ask the Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. They will both be here to kick around some of the sport's hottest topics. One of those topics, following the disappointing finishes we saw from Fierceness and White Abarrio in last weekend's Whitney, are you still buying them as serious Breeders' Cup Classic contenders, assuming you were buying them before the Whitney? Or is it time to put out the for sale sign? Both horses, I think we expected more from both horses in that race. I actually thought White Abarrio was going to run a monster race. Matter of fact, I bet on White Abarrio in the Whitney. I thought for sure that he was going to run a huge race and rebound from that oddly run, or at least weird, edition of the Met Mile in his previous start. Because remember, that was on that sloppy track at Saratoga. Some horses didn't handle it well. But I just thought White Abarrio was the horse to beat in the Whitney. Didn't turn out to be the case. Fierceness, well, we're still trying to figure him out a little bit, aren't we? He's good. But is he that good? Where you can say, yes, he's still a contender for the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think to be fair to both horses, I think they both deserve one more shot. Now, if they both run a clunker, White Abarrio being pointed for the Pacific Classic at Del Mar, which I love that move. He could have stayed at Saratoga, but they decided to send him out there, get a race over the track at which the Breeders' Cup is going to be run, and then I'm assuming they'll just keep him out there. Let him get acclimated. So if he runs a big race there, I think then you're looking at White Abarrio saying, okay, all right, maybe he just didn't handle Saratoga. Maybe White Abarrio just needed a change of scenery and that ship out to Del Mar. We'll find out. But I think he deserves one more shot. I also think Fierceness deserves another shot too. But again, if both horses throw in clunkers in the next one, it's going to be hard to really back either one in the Breeders' Cup Classic, although we know Fierceness has a tendency to rebound from poor performances, so don't be surprised if he runs a huge race next time out. That's kind of been his pattern throughout his entire career. So that's just one topic I'll bring up with Dale and Tim. There are plenty of others. We'll get to that coming up at 10:30 Eastern. A loaded show covering a lot of ground over the next 3 hours. Happy to have you with me here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 22nd. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 8 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 22nd, here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Live racing for the 25-day Ellis Park meeting begins Thursday, July 3rd and runs through Saturday, August 24th, with a record $4 million in stakes purses led by 7 stakes across Kentucky Downs Preview Weekend on August 2nd and 3rd, and 6 stakes on Sunday, August 10th, featuring the $300,000 Ellis Park Derby and the $200,000 Groupie Doll. Connections with Kentucky-bred horses will be competing for $100,000 maiden special weight purses and allowances up to $108,000, and horse players will have plenty of action throughout the summer. For a full list of events, visit EllisParkOwensboroGaming.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
218 is next, consigned by Hillendale Atalapa, agent for Don Alberto Corporation. A bay colt in the ring by Into Mischief, out of Stellar Sound by Tappet. By Into Mischief, number 1 again on the national sire list, leading sire 6 times.
High four-tail, $4,100,000 out of $200,000 out of in the name 1, 1, 2, 2. Y'all done. Appreciate what you did. Anybody else? $4,000,001, $4,000,002. Y'all done? Hey, $4,100,000 out of $4,200,000 out of $4,100,000, $4,200,000 out and a half. $4,100,000 in the back with Woodrow. Thank you.
Please hold your applause. Hold your applause.
Difficult to hold your applause after something like that. That's the way it sounded at Fasig-Tipton, the Saratoga sale on Tuesday evening, when Hip 218 came into the ring, sold for $4.1 million. That was the sale topper, sold to Coolmore and White Birch Farm from the consignment of John Sakura's Hillendale Atalapa, who was acting as agent for Don Alberto Corporation. Congratulations to all the connections. And as I mentioned earlier, the optimism for our sport may be at an all-time high, at least for looking ahead to the future of the game. With 25 yearling selling for $1 million or higher, but none higher than what we saw from HIP 218. And joining me now is Jared Burdine. He is the general manager at Hillendale at Alapa. Jared, first of all, my man, congratulations. Wow.
Thank you. It was definitely a special, magical night there at Saratoga, the Tuesday night, but also the spark started on Monday night there. But yeah.
Put me there with you, watching this horse step into the ring. I know you were very optimistic about his chances to sell well, but you're sitting there, you watch the bidding get higher and higher and higher. Just take me through it. What was it like?
Yeah, I mean, he was a special horse. You bring up a lot of quality horses up there, and then kind of see what you think he's, tops there, and then he just kept bringing himself a head and shoulders above it. Like I said earlier, he's kind of a cliche. He's a man amongst boys there, and you think they're going to do well, but you don't think they're going to do that well. But leading him in there, he some of those special ones, they just blossom when they get in the back ring there too. He just puffed up, and Nestor, his groom, he was dragging him around that back ring, and he knew something special was happening, and just the class and brilliance of the horse just kind of shined in the back ring, and he stepped in and just stood there like a statue, like it was a bodybuilding competition. But this horse moved. He had the physique, and he moves like an athlete too. So that's the special ingredients there. Yeah.
His pedigree's okay too, right?
Yeah. That's part of the formula there too. But you asked about the bidding. It was just, you get to a certain point and it's $2 million, and then all of a sudden, it's $3 and change. You start noticing that there's other people jumping in. That there's, just obviously saw a lot of horses, but and you can kind of feel on the bidding, and you're watching the bidding go, and there's two different locations, so you start realizing, well, there's still like 4 people bidding on this horse at 3 and change, so we could go anywhere. And luckily, Team Sierra Leone there, Coolmore Group, and Mr. Brandt and Mr. Smith, they came away with the horse.
Yeah, he is the highest yearling sold at the Saratoga sale since 2000. It's been 25 years since we've seen a horse step into the ring and create this kind of buzz and excitement. And if folks haven't seen him and they want to go to the Fasig-Tipton YouTube page, if they want to go to the Fasig-Tipton social media pages, or even their website, and you can read the article about the sale, there is a beautiful picture of him on there. And my goodness, when you look at that, he stands so professionally. His physique, you mentioned the bodybuilder kind of physique. Jared, that's spot on. This horse is all muscle.
Yeah. But he matches it with the athleticism and the walk. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes him special. He has the presence. And we saw that. I also got to thank Carlos Heller and Don Alberto and his team of Reed and Noah back at the farm there for entrusting us with the horse. And from the first few times that we saw the horse, he walked out and he just kind of has that presence about him a little bit.
Can you tell early on with these youngsters if they have that, I don't know, I'll call it the it factor, that presence that you just...
The really good ones, yeah. The really good ones you do, and it gets more prevalent, and they go through different stages too. But this one seemed like he was always there. There at Saratoga, everybody has so much time. We show them for 5 days, and I felt like Monday or Tuesday was probably he presented himself better, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's always one of those things too. The horses up there, they're shown lots of times, and a lot of them get wore. You get to see how they handle the pressure of continued.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jared. I was actually going to bring that up too. When you have horses, not just this horse in particular, but when you have horses that are being shown so much, they're in the stall, out of the stall, being asked to walk, being asked to jog, whatever the case might be. Do you start to get a sense of, okay, and I guess maybe this is something buyers are also looking for. This is a horse that has the mental fortitude not to get rattled in a situation like this, which is the same mental fortitude they're going to need when they get to some of these big races and they have 100,000 people watching them.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a positive for the horse, but it doesn't necessarily knock ones that don't, because they're still young horses and they're all in different stages of their life when they get here. But I don't think it's a negative of one that's not really, unless it's too extremes,
You told me that Nestor, his groom, was really pumped up after the bidding concluded. Tell me that story.
I actually took a screenshot that I'm going to mess with him a little bit. Like he did, right after the hammer dropped, he kind of stuck his arms up to flex, and then I think he realized the stage he was on, and he put his arms down pretty quick after that. But it's exciting for the whole group, and it's a testament to our whole team. Not just Nestor kind of took care of him and showed him the most there at the sale, but Peter Conway, our farm manager, all the way to everybody else that does Christina doing the cards, and Claire, and the guys doing taking care of everything else. Libby, she's been with us forever. Makes them shine like a diamond before they go in there. So there's nobody better at doing that. And Caberto, Antonio, Bell, and Jose, they all had their horses that they showed there and did a fabulous job.
I'm so glad you mentioned all those individuals, because I like to talk about that quite often here on the show. And we used to have a segment that would air every week that was called Unsung Heroes, where I would feature a groom or an exercise rider or a farm worker, a sale prep individual who was working with these young horses to get them ready. You never hear you don't see their name in the headline very often. You don't hear about them when you go to the sale. You only see the consigners and the buyers and the high profile folks. But without those individuals working so hard behind the scene, these horses don't have a chance to get there and to sell for $4.1 million.
Yeah, it really takes a team effort. John Sakura and Jess, they allow us to put this type of team together, and it really takes a team. Because we got to be able to work together up there, and everybody's got to pick up their own piece, because it's not. Not one person each and every time. There's night sale days too there till you're showing all day, and then we're there till 11 o'clock at night till the sale's over.
Yeah. How long has Nestor been working with you guys?
Was it 4 or 5 years? I think we've been working at the sales force, and
yeah, it's so cool.
Also, we got Boyd's team put Fasig-Tipton. They brought all the buyers in, and you saw the depth of the buying bench there. I don't even know how many 7-figure horses there were. There was a lot. Good Magic had 2.
Yeah, well, that was my next. I was going there next. I mean, Good Magic, what a sale for him.
Yeah, he had a great sale. 1.6 from Lully Racing, picked out by Legion Bloodstock team. Had another $1 million horse, the half to Muth. Pretty good. Great night for him. Kind of shows what's coming down the pipe for him too. He's bred a lot of really nice mares, and I think a lot of things are coming back around for Good Magic.
Yeah, he certainly seems to be on the upswing, if you will. It's not like he's ever been so much on the downswing, but he seems to be on the upswing. How about the other Hillendale stallions that were represented at the sale? What impressed you the most?
Violence had a couple really serious physicals, and he's one of those consistent horses. He gets a beautiful horse. He's beautiful himself, and they run and just very athletic, big beautiful horses there too. McLean's Music had a $500,000 horse. So across the board, our stallions were well represented there at the sale.
Jared, for people that don't understand, I mean, you come on here, you talk about all the prices. I'll talk about them quite often too. And for people that don't understand why it's important for these young horses to step into a ring as a yearling and to sell well, explain it from the breeding side of things, from your perspective. Why is it important that they do that?
Oh, it's all the economics. The breeder's got to get rewarded for what for putting in all the time and energy. It's keep a betting turn. You got to keep the churn going. You got to keep the commerce there. If you're going to sell seasons, it's like almost like the chicken before the egg. You got to keep cash flow coming around to the breeders and keep. So they buy the seasons. They buy the racehorses. We buy the stallions. It's all the circle of the economics of the industry, and it's key, and it builds confidence for everything for other sales and for other buyers, I think, too, to just see how strong it is and other people willing to spend their money. So I think it's great for the industry to have a special night like that.
Now you get
we kept talking about all these other horses. I forgot about the the Patriarch or the Barn Curlin. Monday night he had the Session Topper of that filly, that Stone Street bred.
Yeah.
So it's the shareholder of Curlin there. So it's key to have to have all that stuff, and it gives confidence to the breeder that there's these good horses out there going in. Maybe they weren't the breeder of it, but maybe they have violence or thinking about what they're going to breed to, and it's going into proper hands.
I've heard of that Curlin horse. I think he's going to turn out to be okay.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah, if you can get a few quality mares to him, I think he'll be all right, buddy. He is special, and the stallions at Hillendale well represented at the sale, and of course Hillendale well represented with that $4.1 million. Let me say this again: the $4.1 million sale topper, the most expensive Saratoga yearling sold since 2000. Jared, people will now anxiously await this horse's racing career. Have you gotten any word as to who may train this horse?
I have not. With the team that's there, and you'd have to think it's probably Chad, but I'm not going to speculate. We'll let those proud new owners decide that.
Yeah, they've got plenty of options, and certainly Chad Brown would be a wonderful choice for a horse like this. Jared Burdine, the general manager at Hillendale at Alapa. Jared, appreciate the visit, my friend, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
All right, Jared Burdine here on HRN. Yeah, what a sale. And what a moment. I mean, I was so glad that Jared touched on all of the other people that had a hand in getting this horse, number one, to the sale, number two, into the sales ring, and then getting him to his eventual stature of being a sale topper at such a prestigious sale. I mean, far and away the sale topper. I mean, the first one in 25 years to sell for that kind of money. There are so many people that work behind the scenes in our industry, and I'll say it again. I've said it many times on this show, and I'm a big proponent of promoting those folks who get up every single morning, show up, work in all kinds of weather conditions, whether it's the sleet and freezing rain in the wintertime, or the heat and humidity in the summertime, or even a gorgeous spring day. They're there every morning, bright and early, busting their tails, taking care of these horses, making sure, and treating them as if they're their children. I think that's the thing that people need to remember. These horses are treated so well, whether it's at the racetrack or on the farms, at the training centers, whatever it might be, in the breeding shed. All of these horses are treated so well, and there are so many people that go into working with them. And I'm quite certain that Nestor, the groom of this horse, and all of the other folks that work behind the scenes that Jared so nicely touched on, I'm pretty sure that they are just beaming right now at the success of this horse, because this is what it's all about. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to everyone who put their hand on this horse, and especially to John Sakura of Hillendale, because this, his longtime vision, and he's executed it perfectly. Among the greatest breeders and consigners that we've seen in this game in the history of the sport. So congratulations to everybody connected with that sale-topping yearling at Fasig-Tipton Saratoga. All right. When I come back, time now for your Legends of the Turf. When I come back, you're going to hear from somebody who has certainly had an impact on our industry over the years. That is Hall of Famer Shug McGaughey. He joins me next to talk about the Arlington Million. But first, this week's Legends of the Turf and a short commercial break.
Sam Riddle, owner of Man o' War, once made the now famous remark, "Thoroughbreds don't cry." By that he meant that they had the heart and courage to keep on trying no matter how badly the odds were stacked against them. There are those of which legends are formed, like Black Gold and Dark Secret, both of whom broke a leg during the running of the race but refused to stop running until they crossed the finish line still fighting. Undoubtedly, one of the most memorable tests of heart in the chronicled annals of thoroughbred racing was the 2-year-old ongoing duel between two superior colts, Aladar and Affirmed. Both were chestnuts, both schooled by top trainers, and both were members of the same outstanding Reza native family. In toto, they both typified all that was poignantly majestic about the thoroughbred breed itself. Affirm was a good little horse, standing at 15.3 hands, that's about 5 feet 1 inch, and Aladar was a good big horse, standing at 16.2 hands, about 5 feet 4 inches. You know, there's an old racing adage to the effect that a good big horse will beat a good small horse. Those who echoed that well-known refrain forgot one simple thing. Affirmed was a fanatic. Once he got to the lead, he absolutely refused to let another horse get by him. The fact was that Aladar was also a fanatic in that he refused to stop trying to pass, no matter how consistently Affirmed defeated him. In their first 6 meetings, Affirm had whipped Aladar 4 times. But when they went postward beneath the hallowed TwinSpires of Churchill Downs in the lengthening late afternoon shadows of an early May afternoon in the run for the Roses, Aladar was the crowd betting favorite. One of the fascinating aspects of the Affirmed Aladar battles was the difference in their respective running styles. Affirm was a quick breaker and, once in front, flatly refused to relinquish his advantage. Aladar was a relatively slow breaker who came from off the pace to make one big run. That 1978 Kentucky Derby showcased those patterns and tendencies most graphically indeed. Although Aladar chased Affirmed valiantly, the Little Harborview colt won the race over the Game Calumet colt, which thereby upped the composite log to Affirmed 5 wins, Aladar 2. It turned out to be a case of equine deja vu in the run for the Black-Eyed Susans at Pimlico 2 weeks later. This time, the big horse made an even more determined run for the lead and was defeated by a bare neck. Laz Barara, Affirmed's trainer, said that even if they had gone around again, Aladar would never have caught him. There were not many others, including Aladar himself, who bought into Barara's absolute vote of confidence. The Calumet colt went postward as the favorite in the ultimate test, the 1.5-mile run for the Carnations, the Belmont Stakes. And there was a solid faction of knowing horsemen who were of the opinion Aladar had been whipped by Affirm so many times, 6 out of 8, that in effect Affirm had broken Aladar's heart, as it were, and that the race would be a walkover for Affirmed. The 111th Belmont will be long remembered by Ogden Phipps, then president of the New York Racing Association, and everybody else who saw it as well as, quote, the greatest horse race I've ever seen, unquote. I was a witness, but I must frankly say the match race between Alsab and Whirlaway at Narragansett in 1942 was better. So be it. Nevertheless, Affirm got away from the barrier with his customary quick start and then dropped into second place just off the pace, lying in wait like a tiger ready to pounce on his prey. Aladar broke in rather leisurely fashion and came from further back to challenge on the outside. With the indomitable spirit of a truly great horse, he began his ambitious assault on Affirmed in spite of his recent defeats at the hands of the latter, defeats that would have made any lesser thoroughbred stop trying. Speeding rapidly to the head of the field, Affirmed and Aladar came to the 3/8 pole eyeball to eyeball. Matching each other with stride for magnificent stride, they had covered the first mile in 1:37 2. Muscles strained to the bursting point, neither magnificent colt giving an inch. Their strides were in perfect synchronization with the respective riders in fluid motion as they pounded down the long Belmont stretch in what was truly poetry in motion. Then Aladar, in the moment everybody had waited for, stuck his nose out for just a mere fraction of an inch further than Affirmed. It seemed just for an instant that Aladar's long battle had finally been won. The prolonged intensity of that duel for the lead and the assertive move would well have given cause for most other horses to back off and settle for a most respectable second place. For a fleeting moment, it looked as if Affirmed would tire and slow down, but he reached down into the depths for that X plus, that little something extra that only the great ones have, that which makes a thoroughbred a true champion. In one singularly bold display of the ultimate in courage, the little horse with the enormous heart gathered every ounce of power that was within him and thrust his note a good 3 inches past that of Aladar. And that's the way it stayed as they hit the finish line. To this very day, the question is hotly debated. Which horse had more heart? The one who would not be beaten, or the one who kept being beaten but came back for each successive confrontation, trying harder and harder to win? You see, Aladar didn't know how to cry, and in that context he exemplified the consummate thoroughbred. But history shows, and the fact remains, it was Affirmed that had that intangible something extra, that X plus. As Laz Barara phrased it when, the following summer, the good little Triple Crown winner thundered home under an impost of 132 pounds to win the Hollywood Gold Cup and become the first thoroughbred to earn $2 million, quote, Affirmed is like my father. When you ask him for a quarter to go to the movies, he'd have to search all of his pockets, but you knew he'd find one somewhere, unquote. And by the way, there's a great sports trivia question emanating from that 1978 Triple Crown. Who was the only horse ever to run second in all 3 Triple Crown races? It was Aladar. No, indeed, thoroughbreds do not cry.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Attention horsemen, did you know Virginia restricted purses at Colonial Downs are 25% higher than open races? 25%. Virginia bred, Virginia sired, and Virginia certified horses compete for a purse of more than $87,000 for Virginia restricted maidens and $90,000 for Virginia restricted one other than allowance races, with more bonuses available to Virginia certified developers. With the return of the Virginia-Maryland circuit, it makes more sense than ever to get Virginia certified.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of EIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with the product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Talk of the nation, Nation's Pride, they're closing in. Integration going to take the outside route. Segoy has been collared. Talk of the nation between horses. Nation's Pride trying to go with that one. Just in behind Ancient Rome, putting in a good bid. And down the outside, Integration. A final furlong left to go. Nation's Pride hits the lead. Nation's Pride the leader. Ancient Rome going to try to come through on the inside of Integration, but Nation's Pride in front with 50 yards to go. Nation's Pride going to win the Arlington Million by 2. Integration looked to get second over Ancient Rome. Third, fourth was Talk of the Nation.
That's Jason Beam with the call of last year's Arlington Million, won by Nation's Pride. You heard the horse finishing second was Integration. He is now the favorite for this afternoon's renewal for trainer Shug McGaughey, who will join me momentarily. Welcome back to the program. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. It is a huge weekend of thoroughbred racing, and we're going to be saying that a lot over the course of the next few months leading up to the Breeders' Cup World Championships. You have the Win and You're In Sword Dancer at Saratoga, and then, of course, that Grade 1 $1 million Arlington Million at Colonial Downs in Virginia. And as I mentioned, Shug is with me now. Shug, happy to have you aboard, my friend. Always great to catch up.
All right, thank you.
Integration. He has been so close in these Grade 1 races, yet to break through. What's the key to him getting it done later today?
Well, I mean, he just got to go over and run his race. He's been running his races, and just like you say, he just got beat at the Pegasus, and just got beat up here in the Manhattan when they changed the distance and changed the track and changed the day, but that's all part of it. And, he deserves to win one. And he's fresh and he's trained good up here, so, we're hoping he runs well.
Yeah, he always shows up, rarely throws in a clunker. That has to be a comforting thought for you as you get ready for the Arlington Million.
No, he's a fun horse to be around. He's a fun horse to train, and like you say, he shows up in the afternoon, and, he's kind of one of my favorites around here, and, we're looking for a good effort this afternoon.
He certainly loves Colonial Downs. 3 for 4, his only defeat coming in last year's Arlington Million when he was second. That has to give you a lot of confidence too, Shug.
Well, he does. He likes the track, and, I've had this on his schedule for quite a while, and, I think he'll, like I say, he'll show up. He like I say, he likes distance, he likes track, he likes Johnny, and we like him. So we're looking forward to this afternoon.
You have trained so many incredible horses over your Hall of Fame career, so many incredible grass horses. Is there an element of, I don't know, I'll use the word frustration, Shug, with a horse like Integration who's so close in these Grade 1 races, and you said he deserves it, but he hasn't gotten it yet. Is it a little frustrating?
Yeah, I mean, it's not frustrating as much as it was disappointing to, for him to run as well as he did in the Pegasus and get beat right on the money, and then come back here and finish up the way he did in the Manhattan and just not get there. And, like I say, that we pointed the horse for the mile 3/8 in the Manhattan, and they changed the course, which favors a speed horse on the inner track. And, but he showed up. He came out, he finished up really well, and he was just second. So, maybe today will be the day that he breaks through.
You mentioned he's one of your favorites around the barn. What makes him a favorite?
Well, just because, he likes what he's doing. He likes to train in the morning, and he, when you take him over in the afternoon, chances are he's going to show up. And, he's got a little personality to him, but he's just an easy horse to be around. And, he, like I say, he likes what he's doing, and, every day he's fun to train, and because he likes to go out there and train. And, like you say, the races in the afternoon are good.
Yeah, you've been able to keep him on top of his game for each of his seasons of racing. He's now 5 years old. Shug, what have you had to do with him, or what's been the key to keeping this horse competing at a high level year in and year out?
Well, I think one thing is, the people that own him are patient with him, and they don't, they're not getting excited about running him when he doesn't need to be running just because the race is there. And, I've missed some spots when he was a 3-year-old, I guess one of those derbies up here, the first one, but he ran a little bit of a temperature, and I just wasn't sure that he was in the right place where, I wanted him to be. And then so we backed off. He ended up having a good fall, but I think it's, just the patience that we've had around the barn, but also the people that own him.
Well, he's one of 2 runners that you have entered in the Arlington Million this afternoon. The other is 6-year-old Fort Washington, who on his day is as tough as nails. Tell me about Fort Washington.
Well, like I say, I've just been anxious to get him stretched out. He ran a little farther down in the dinner party than he had been in Florida. and he finished up really, really well, and he trained really good here. I was disappointed in his race in Louisville. Junior just told me, said everything just didn't go right that day, and we were wide and finished fourth. But the biggest thing is he trained really, really well up here, and I'm anxious to get him stretched out going a mile and a quarter and on a firm track. So that's kind of where I stand with him.
He ran a big race, too, in the Pegasus World Cup Invitational back in January. You mentioned integration in that runner-up effort on his part. Fort Washington was fifth, but he was only beaten 2 1/4 lengths.
Well, the other thing, too, is, he drew in off the also eligible, so he had 13 posts, I think, and 12 or 13. And, he was wide the whole way. But we thought he ran really well considering, the circumstances. I didn't decide to run him till sort of the last minute, so we were on the also eligibles and drew into that to the outside, and that didn't help us any. But I thought he ran really good in there too.
Shug, people are going to see Fort Washington turf horse, integration turf horse, and think that, okay, he must do the same thing with both horses. Explain the differences maybe in your approach to training them and bringing them up to a big race like this.
Well, you just try to kind of watch them and train them to your feel, and that's what we've been doing, and it's worked out pretty well. I'm not a big long distance trainer, in the mornings, so. They're kind of on the same track. They work together, quite a bit. So, it's basically just try to keep them happy and keep them eating and breeze them every now and then. Try not to overdo it. And if they want to run that far, they'll naturally run that far. If they don't want to run that far, they probably, you might be able to get them to run that far, once or twice or something, and they'll back up on you. But the biggest thing is if they want to run that far, and they'll show up. It's not a whole lot I can do.
Shug, you make it sound so simple.
Well, come out here in the mornings and see.
Yeah, it's definitely not. As Jude Feld, my former co-host, used to say all the time, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that easy. They're always throwing a trick at you here or there and trying to get them over there in the way you want to and have things go the right way and have the races go. And when you want them to go, it doesn't always happen. So it's kind of, a lot of times there's a lot of variables that go into it that the people sitting at their kitchen table right now reading the racing form don't know.
Shug, you've had some incredible owners over the years. In West Point Thoroughbreds, Woodford Racing, the owners of Integration. Most of our listeners likely familiar with those names. Fort Washington, owned by Magic Cap Stables. Tell me a little bit more about them.
Magic Cap's a guy named Joe Anzalone. He's a really good guy. He's got horses. He breeds to sell. I kind of talked him into buying part of this horse, and then we end up buying the rest of it. And he's had a lot of success. He's won a couple, 2 or 3 stakes, and but he was partners with Bob Edwards, the Big E guy, and he really enjoys the game. He's up at Colonial right now, and so he's a fun guy to have around. He understands, and so he likes the racing part of it, and so we've got a nice 2-year-old filly here for him that ran one time, was third, and he was in on another horse I had was with West Point called Samson, and that I had to stop for bone bruising this winter. I think he'd been second, third, or a couple seconds or something, and he just needs some time off, and we'll pick him up back for the winter. And I think a talented horse, but he's just an involved guy that enjoys the game, and he understands the game, and he's involved in kind of all parts of it. And if you call him up and ask him to take a piece of them, he's never said no yet. So he's been a fun guy to have, and he really looked forward to Pegasus and being from Florida, and then he's, like I say, he's already at Colonial, and he's looking forward to today, and I think that he'll see a good performance out of Fort Washington.
Visiting with Hall of Fame trainer Shug McGaughey ahead of this afternoon's Grade 1 $1 million Arlington Million. Shug, as I was preparing for the show, I flipped through the past winners of the Arlington Million, and I was fully expecting to see your name on the list of trainers who had won it. But I was shocked to learn that this would be your first win in the Arlington Million. Have you run many horses in the race?
No. Integration Lure was the favorite, the program favorite, one year, but it rained real bad, so I didn't run him because, he wasn't going to be effective going a mile and a quarter over soft turf. That was years back, and until now, really, that's the only one I'd run until till integration.
Now let's hope integration can give you another Grade 1 win on your resume, and a big one too, with the $1 million purse in a race with the stature of the Arlington Million. It would certainly be special for you. Shug, do you still get pumped up for these big races the way you used to?
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't have the nerve factor that maybe I had a while back, but I sure got the excitement part of it, and I'm excited about today. I'm excited about there. We got one in at Monmouth and got one in up here, so we got a lot of action, and that's exciting for me.
No, as good as it gets. Shug McGaughey, he's been doing it at a high level for a very long time, and that's why he has a plaque in the Hall of Fame in Saratoga Springs, New York. Shug, as always, great to catch up, my friend. All the best in the Arlington Million. We will be cheering.
All right, Mike. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right. One of racing's really good guys, too. Love catching up with Shug. And he did. When I asked him that question about preparing these horses for these races, he really did make it sound so simple, right? Keep them happy, keep them eating. If they want to run long, nothing I can do to change that. I don't know if I believe that. I think Shug, if a horse, listen, a horse has to want to do it. A horse has to have the pedigree to go long in a race like a mile and a quarter Arlington Million. But I think Shug knows a thing or two about bringing a horse up to a race like that. And then, I asked him that question about never having won the race before, which was shocking to me because of the fact that he's had so many top-class turf horses over the years. And I thought one of them must have, maybe back in the 80s jumped up and won this race at some point. No, not the case. Not the case. But you heard him say he hasn't run many horses. Integration's his horse. So we'll see if Integration can break through in his second attempt in the Arlington Million, again, after finishing second behind Nation's Pride a year ago. All right, when I come back, I'll get you ready for hour number 2. I'll tell you what's ahead in hour number 3, and I'll tell you what's coming up at NYRA later this afternoon. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becker. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free health care. Hundreds to more than $1,000 per month in disability compensation and tens of thousands for college tuition. These are just some of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs benefits that may be available to veterans. VA is focused on customer service like never before. Choose VA and see why veterans' trust in VA reached an all-time high. Claim the benefits you've earned at choose.va.gov.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
My Boy Prince has been there every step of the way. Deterministic takes a crack at him on the outside. Second, Laginos in behind them. Win for the Money is in fourth. Johannes still well back, has 7 or 8 lengths to make up. Think Big on the outside. Deterministic takes command in the final stages and starts to open up. Another tremendous effort from Deterministic, who wins the FanDuel Fourstardave under Kendrick Carmouche. Intellect rallied strongly into second, and the rest among Think Big, Win for the Money, and My Boy Prince.
Frank Miramati with the call of that effort last Saturday at Saratoga. The 4-star Dave going to Deterministic, punching his ticket to the Breeders' Cup Mile with that big win. Trainer Miguel Clement going to join me here in just a few minutes to look back on that particular win and to look ahead to Far Bridge going as the favorite in today's Sword Dancer, which, again, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Division. So Miguel has just been on fire in these Grade 1 races, and we'll see if he can add another one later today. And don't forget that you can watch the Resorts World Casino Sword Dancer live on Fox Saratoga Saturday. Join Andy Serling. I got my mind set on Arlington today, don't I? Join Andy Serling, Maggie Wolfendale, and the Fox team for live racing, plus expert picks and analysis. Fox Saratoga Saturday covers live racing from Saratoga every Saturday through DraftKings Travers Day. Visit NYRA.com/TV for a complete schedule. That's going to be a good race. Listen, Far Bridge, he's a tough horse, right? He's another horse, kind of like Integration, that shows up, and on his day, he's going to beat you. But there are days when he comes up a little bit short. He does need some things to break his way. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Miguel in just a few minutes, and we'll see if he feels like this is the day for Far Bridge coming up this afternoon. Poll question for you. Who is your pick to win today's Arlington Million at Colonial Downs? And giving you a few choices. We'll give you the morning line favorite in Integration, give you Cairo, the Irish bred, and the Derby winner, Mystic Dan, the first Kentucky Derby winner ever to race at Colonial Downs. And if you feel like it's somebody else, you can choose the fourth option and let us know which horse you think is going to win other than the top three. So far, it is really, really close. And I think that speaks to the wide open betting nature of the Arlington Million this afternoon. 32% of you saying it's going to be Integration. 32% saying it's going to be the Derby winner, Mystic Dan. 31% saying, nah, it's somebody else. and only 5% thinking it will be Irish-bred Cairo coming in from overseas. I mentioned that this is not necessarily the strongest renewal of the Arlington Million that we have ever seen. When the race was at Arlington, and maybe it'll build back to that over time, but when the race was at Arlington, I can remember hosting so many of these shows live from the track the Saturday morning of the Arlington Million and talking with folks like Alistair Donald from the International Racing Bureau and Dave Zenner, whom you're going to hear from coming up at 9:20 Eastern, and talking about the Ryder Cup type of feel where the Europeans would send over maybe not their A-list turf horses, but maybe their B or B-plus list turf horses to take on our top Americans and to get a gauge of where the Euros fit with our top turfers. And it was a great setup looking ahead to the Breeders' Cup. I don't think we had that this year. I mean, Cairo is not necessarily one of the top turf horses in Europe. Nice horse, just not that caliber that we're used to seeing in the Arlington Million. But I'll talk to Dave Zenner about that coming up at 9:20. Again, Miguel Clement coming up in just a few minutes here to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Ted Nicholson from Kentucky Downs also set to join me in the second hour of the show. Before I get to hour two, I want to remind you, if you're going to be in Lexington or in central Kentucky for any reason and you want a great meal, I tell you every week, Tony's of Lexington, the place to go. By far, the greatest steaks that I have ever had anywhere. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with my mother yesterday. She no longer lives in Lexington, but she says, geez, I wish I could go to Tony's tonight. It's something that you don't forget. Wonderful, wonderful things, food and atmosphere and people at Tony's of Lexington. Make your reservations now. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that. They're going to be busy, so call now. Get your reservation. Tony's of Lexington on Main Street just behind Rupp Arena. Hour two coming your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back, hour two of three. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning, the 9th day of August, 2025. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, my conversation with Jared Burdine from Hillendale or Hall of Famer Shug McGaughey, you can head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. Check out the podcast whenever you have some time, and you can do that too on every podcast platform. All right, just told you about the guests coming up here in hour number two, beginning with our Road to the Breeders' Cup segment and Miguel Clement momentarily. Hour three kicks off at 10 o'clock Eastern. James Scully will join me for the TwinSpires Triple Play to give you 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires later today. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, remembering Smarty Jones, comes up at 10:20. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. They will be with me for the final segment of the show, as they are every week, to debate some of the hottest topics in the sport today. And one topic I'm going to bring up to them involves what we saw last weekend at Saratoga. Trainer Miguel Clement saddling a Grade 1 winner, and Riley Mott getting his first greatest stakes win of his young career, and it came in a Grade 1, the Saratoga Derby Invitational. We're going to talk about what those victories mean to the future of our sport on the training side and some of the other up-and-coming trainers in the game today to keep an eye on. So that all comes your way at 10:30. But without further ado, we go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with the man who has been just lights out in these greatest stakes at Saratoga, Miguel Clement. Miguel, happy to have you aboard, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Man, what a weekend last weekend. Let's start there. How good was Deterministic?
It's very, very good. It's top class for a while, and he delivers on the biggest occasions, which is what's needed, you know.
Walk me through that race last weekend. What stood out to you most?
Were you able to get company out of the gate? It was a bit on the muscle, to be honest with you. I was a bit on the muscle because he's a good enough horse. It's just our job to make sure you bring him there and get it right. But he's good. He's tactical. There was more pace this time than the Manhattan, so he's 4th place. I told Kendrick, break well. First 50 yards, you go straight. Don't worry about anything else. Then you decide, do you slot in first, second, or third? Jose goes, commits, you'd be right behind him. If another guy wants to commit as well, you'd be right there stalking. But I think you should be 1, 2, 3. And he's rateable, which is a big deal. So he broke well, and then he just, after being sent from the gates, quickly he stopped, and he was able to settle right on the hip of the leader. And I think that by using his tactical speed, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, his last few races, he had gone right to the front. 2 of those resulting in victories. And I think people were questioning, okay, is this a horse that has to get the lead to run well? Well, he proved in the Hill Prince a few starts back that he didn't have to. He proved it again last Saturday. That's got to be a wonderful thing for you to know about this horse going forward as you look ahead to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, true. Plus, he's versatile, which makes it great. You teach that a little bit in the mornings. If you can make them versatile, where they're not one-dimensional, it makes it so much easier for the jocks, because they can call audibles. They can make by making him versatile, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to be dependent on anybody, and you can control your own destiny during a race, which is great. You control your trip, and speed's always dangerous here, especially on a firm turf course.
How do you teach a horse to be versatile in the mornings?
Yeah, you work them in behind, in front, upside. You teach them all the time. So we like to work one behind the other. A lot of people like to work side by side, and we actually work one in behind. So you get used to being covered up, kick back, and they wait to the stretch, and then they come out. So you watch all our workouts. We're never really much side by side. We're always one behind the other until the stretch. So you teach one to be in front, you teach one to be settled in behind. Especially for grass, I think it makes a big difference for grass. Not so much maybe for dirt, but for grass, I think it does.
How cool is this win, and, of course, the last win in the Grade 1 Manhattan for Kendrick Carmouche?
That's great. It's great. We just did one of the Jonathan Kitchen's golf cart segments together. And he likes to heckle me, saying he's done this his whole life to get to Grade 1, and I did it for a week. That's okay. That's how it happened, unfortunately, with the stable dynamics and everything took place. But anyway, it's very rewarding. He's ridden brilliantly 3 times. And that seems to be a great match,
Yeah, and he's a really fantastic rider, too, and somebody that's so much fun to be around.
48. Yeah, I agree. He's very lively, and he's got a big personality.
Miguel, you mentioned everything that's taken place. Of course, the passing of your father, my condolences there. What's it been like for you, taking the reins and moving things, continuing to keep things moving forward?
It's tough. Privately, I'm struggling a bit, to be honest with you. But, professionally, the horses are doing great. It's a well-needed distraction. The owners have been very supportive. The team has been there, and it's the same team as always. So they really stepped up. And we always focus on New York. So, it's no surprise we're having a good meet. We hibernate a lot of these good horses in the wintertime, and they should be peaking right about now. They've all had maybe 1 or 2 runs under their belt. So we're expecting to run well. And the weather's been cooperating in Saratoga, and we have a lot of turf horses. So it's been a lucky meet,
Good day yesterday, too. Tell me about Ozara.
Ozara's a good filly. She was one of our favorite serial fillies from the get-go, and is great. She's tactical. She's 3 for 3 at Saratoga. She's got speed. She's game and gutsy. The fact that we wheeled her back at 4 weeks after Monmouth, she was doing so well. She won the Gila Rose, which I was very proud of. And then since then, she again was doing well, eating well and aggressive, and I'm very, very lucky. Mr. Dobson's been a great supporter of the stables, and to reward him with this one, it's great.
Well, you've got a pretty good one going later today, too, in the Sword Dancer with Far Bridge. He's 9-5 on the morning line. Joel Rosario gets the leg up again. Tell me more about what you're seeing from this horse coming into the Sword Dancer.
We only worked him once. I think he's already been taking over with a Bowling Green next to him. And I don't think we have to be too tough, to be honest with you. And 12-1. And to be honest with you, I think it's fine. You get the Godolphin that terrifies me, but you can't duck anybody, especially with a good horse. And I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? He's tactical, so him too. He's versatile. He won the Sword Dancer last year from the lead. He also won the Joe Hirsch from last with a devastating turn of foot to catch Warlock Goddess. We don't have to be too tough. You know what I mean? Whatever he wants to do, Joel can do. You know.
I hear you mentioning times as we're having this conversation. Are you watching horses train now?
Yeah, I am. I actually had one to breeze. It was not planned. Unfortunately, the set list had to change, so we had to change the set list because there was an issue on the training tracks. We had to cancel everything. And my very amazing wife, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, working as well. Keep going a touch more if we can. We have to schedule everything. It's a Bo Liam colt I kind of like. So anyway, I'm only the horse training at 9 o'clock. My luck. I had one extra left over because I was not able to make it all work. I didn't want to change the rider. I could have made it work, but I wanted to keep the same rider on the horse. And as a result, we didn't change it. I completely zoned out in your question, though, to be honest with you. What was it?
By the way, your beautiful wife, Acacia, formerly Acacia Courtney, now Acacia Clement, and folks can see her on the Fox TV covers. She does a great job. She was a member of our HRRN team for a long time. How cool is that, Miguel, that you have somebody by your side that knows the game so well like Acacia does?
Yeah, no, I'm lucky. I've got a very supportive wife, very supportive family. They all stepped up, especially recently. She takes care of everything that's not four legs. Everything that's four legs is me. Everything else that's not four legs is her. That's the stable rule and my household rule, and it works out much better that way for everybody. Sister steps in. She takes care of all the finances for the stable and all the other problems that you can imagine. Mom has been taking care of a lot more you can imagine with lawyers and immigration. I mean, all the things that you don't see behind the scenes, which is needed in a big stable. Most of it's not me, to be honest. And Dad was a bit the same, but I'm not quite good enough. I'm not good enough to take care of both. I'll be honest with you, I like to just specialize on training and horses, the team, and just deal with that, which in and of itself is full time. And I try to have the supportive family that takes care of all the other factors. So I can focus more of my efforts and time on horses. And, it seems to work for me, and I need to spend more time with my horses,
Well, it's a difficult transition. I think we all understand that. But whatever you're doing, Miguel, just keep doing it because it is working and working in a big way. What gives you the confidence in Far Bridge that he walks away with a victory later today in the Sword Dancer?
I don't have confidence. He's a very good horse. He himself is nothing different, though. I mean, he's been remarkably consistent. He's a neck away from being perfect this year. He's won every big turf staying race there is this year. Joel and him have like the dynamic duo. They won 5 of the last 7 races together. I mean, he's very, very good,
How critical is it to get a victory in a race like the Sword Dancer that is a win and you're in, all expenses paid to the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, financially, I'm sure it's very meaningful for the connections. So it's great in that regard. But, I mean, regardless if he wins or not, I assume he's going to be there. So, I mean, I don't know if it's really critical. It just helps out with the finances. Well, I mean, as long as the horse is doing well and he's sound and in good order, I expect us to be in the Breeders' Cup no matter what,
Yeah, I know you're busy. I'm going to let you go here in a minute, but give me the game plan now moving forward for Deterministic. What do you do with him?
It's an excellent. You have 3 options. 1, you trim straight for the Breeders' Cup Mile. 2, you go Canada, Woodbine Mile, then Breeders' Cup Mile. 3, you go Keeneland, then Breeders' Cup Mile. Everything's up to the table. Let him tell you which way to go. Between the way he's moving, his energy level, and his eating. Everything's good. Just usually sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get back to his feed tub after big races. So he'll gauge you which way he could go. And whenever he's eating well, then you start working him again. And then you make the decision, But from the Manhattan, we were tough on him. Keeneland, Fort Marcy, Manhattan. That was only, I think, 4 weeks. Maybe I was lying. It might have been 5 weeks. Then the Keeneland to the Fort Marcy was 4 weeks, and then it was 5 weeks from Fort Marcy to Manhattan. And then I thought you needed a little bit of time after the Manhattan, so we did not run them here opening weekend at Saratoga in the Grade 3. I forget what it's called. And we just aimed straight to the Fourstardave. But usually if you'd listen to them, they guide you. It's a bit like yesterday, Ozara. Ozara, we ran her tough. I mean, every 4 weeks we never guided. We never ducked anything. 4 weeks, bang, 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 and then she delivered. But that's because she's eating well, training well, and they kind of give you. I mean, if you believe it too much in the numbers, like speed figures and everything, like Ragasons and sheets, sometimes they tell you, hey, I think you're prone to a bounce. I get it. 9 times out of 10, they're probably right, statistically speaking. But you also have to take a little bit of the individual into account. Them well. It's great to read a form and everything else, but sometimes the horses, they're doing better or not as well as you think. You need to listen to them a little bit. That was a bit. I was very proud of yesterday because we wheeled her back at 4 weeks, and she kept improving every start as well. That's I was very proud of that. That was a little kudos, to the stable, I thought.
Miguel Clement here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Miguel, before I let you go, Far Bridge goes in the Sword Dancer. The race before the Saratoga Oaks Invitational, Grade 2. You have Go-Go Boots for owner Bobby Flay. She'll make her debut for you in that race this afternoon. She's 7-2 on the morning line. Tell me a little bit more about her.
So honestly, it's Jonathan Eagles and that trained the filly, and they did all the preparation and all the breezes, and the stable's done very little. Mr. Flay wanted to send us the filly because he wants to run her here and keep her here afterwards, which is very kind of him. I think he's trying to bring back the good old days with Pizza Bianca. So we even reunited ourselves with Jose Ortiz. But any sort of performance today should be 100% on the credit for the whole Gauzen team because they did everything, preparation and all. She came to me looking very well. And we just worked on her mental and kept her ticking over. We didn't do anything. We took her once to the gates, just to jump her for 50 yards, and that's it. And it was very simple. Just because, the gates are a bit daunting for Europeans. It's not quite the same, and you have handlers on both sides just to get her used to it. Except for that, we did the bare minimum. Just kept her happy and ticking over. We never breezed her or stressed the filly. And just keep her sweet. They take care of all the preparation, and then whenever you travel, just worry about their well-being, their appetite, their happiness level, and that's it. So I'm not as familiar with the filly as I should, and that's because it's all thanks to the Gauzen team from back in England. But on form, it's a very firm turf course here, so I'm a little bit worried about that. Not for Farbridge, I'm worried about her because I think the distance might be a touch on the shorter side than what's ideal for her because I think she does stay 1.5 miles. And a 1:3:16 here might be a touch short, so I'm slightly worried about that. But I guess our job is to train, and it's Jose Ortiz's job to ride him, so he's got to figure it out, I suppose.
It's funny you started with Pizza Bianca. That was the first thing that popped into my head when I said owner Bobby Flay before I introduced Go-Go Boots. Pizza Bianca. She was so good.
No, she was very good. She had a devastating turn of foot, and she brought a lot of happiness to the stable. The stable had 7 seconds in the Breeders' Cup, and to be fair, some of these seconds were remarkable. Gio Ponte ran second to Zenyatta. In the Breeders' Cup Classic, when she ran at one in California, so that was a great performance. Also ran second to Goldie Cove as well. Gio Ponte. The stable also ran second to Wise Dance. We've had our fair share of close misses against some of the greats. Now to finally break through and get over the hump was great with Pizza Bianca, and it was very, very, very rewarding.
Miguel, listen, I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking time, even though you're training horses. All the best later today. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, we'll try our best. It's not easy, trust me. It's not easy, but we're trying our best.
Keep it going, man. Whatever you're doing, don't change a thing.
All right, thanks, sir. Thanks.
All right, Miguel Clement going down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Again, that Sword Dancer this afternoon, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Division. And you heard him say, Far Bridge is probably going to be in the Breeders' Cup Turf. He's that caliber of runner. But it's certainly nice from the financial perspective for the connections if he can punch his ticket and get the all-expense-paid trip, the entry fees paid, all of those things to go along with winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge race. Good luck to the team later today, and my thanks to Miguel for being with me here this morning. When I come back, we turn our attention from Saratoga, and we head right back to Arlington. Dave Zenner joins me from Colonial Downs to talk about the Arlington Million. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
The biggest day in Washington State racing history is now even bigger and better. On Saturday, August 17th, watch and wager on 6 stakes races, including the 90th running of the prestigious Long Acres Mile. Play the All Stakes, Pick 4, Pick 5, and Pick 6. Look for past performances in all editions of the August 17th Daily Racing Form. Join us for racing at Emerald Downs on Sunday, August 17th. Post time, 1:50 p.m. Pacific.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important brood mares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16th, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They turn for home in the million. Better Talk Now, coming with a long run down the center of this course. Give Enjoy the champion right there. Power Score trying to split horses. A mouth-watering million inside the final half furlong. Power Score with a revengeful run. Kieran Fallon and Power Score has won the million. The Pizza Man finishing now. Big Blue Kidden charging on the outside. The Pizza Man has taken the lead. The Pizza Man on the outside. Big Blue Kidden. Chicago's about to erupt. The Illinois bred. The Pizza Man just won the Arlington Million.
Well, a couple of unforgettable Arlington Million anniversaries taking place here in 2025. Powers Court in 2005, 20 years ago, with his victory after being disqualified the year before. And the Pizza Man, the Illinois bred, 10 years ago, 2015. Hard to believe it's been 10 years since the Pizza Man. John Dooley had the call of both races you just heard. The Arlington Million renewed again today. Its new home, Colonial Downs in Virginia. Dave Zenner was one of the people who sat down with me our very first trip to Arlington Park here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. It was the first race broadcast we had ever done outside the state of Kentucky, and it helped launch the network forward. And my thanks to Dave for taking time that day and for taking time here in 2025 to join me again. Dave, can't break tradition, my friend.
Absolutely cannot break tradition, and thanks for playing those 2 stretch runs. Brings back a lot of memories.
Oh, my goodness. Right? I couldn't believe it's been 10 years since the Pizza Man. It doesn't seem like that to me.
It absolutely does not seem like that. When you said 10 years, I'm like, no, that can't be right. And then I looked and I said, no, that's right.
Chicago's about to erupt. What a great call.
Absolutely. John Dooley really nailed it on that one.
Yeah, he certainly did. Man, well, first of all, happy Arlington Million morning. Tell me about some of the main storylines surrounding this year's field. I had a chance earlier in the show to catch up with Shug McGaughey. We talked about integration in Fort Washington, but there are plenty of other storylines here.
Oh, there's a ton of storylines. Obviously, you hit on Shug with integration second last year, and the horse loves this turf course, getting a chance to get over the hump in the million. But I think the story that hits most mainstream folks, the people that may not be following racing day to day, is Mystic Dan, a name that they would be familiar with because of his run in Kentucky Derby 150, trying the turf for the first time in the million. I think that's probably the biggest storyline for people who aren't like us that are invested in it day to day.
Did I read in one of the and I hope I'm correct because I said this earlier in the show, did I read in one of the press releases that was sent out by Colonial Downs that Mystic Dan is the first Derby winner ever to race at Colonial?
That is correct. Our longtime historian, Darrell Wood, who actually called the first ever race here because we were running against Maryland that one day, and then Robin came over for the rest of that season, has been here for every meet, and he did some quick research, and to the best of our knowledge, it's the first one to have ever run here, and certainly the first one to have run here post winning the Derby.
Do you think Mystic Dan can win this thing?
Absolutely can win this thing. I'm not sure he will win this thing. Turf, going from dirt to turf could change a horse. It could change any horse into, making the horse better. So you've got a horse that's already very good, and maybe last start wasn't the greatest. Going to the turf, and has been on the turf. Worked on the Oklahoma at Saratoga, got a good gallop over the turf here yesterday, so absolutely can win the race. I mean, but if this is a tough bunch, with Shug's pair and Todd with Grand Sonata and the foreign horse Cairo coming over, it's a salty bunch. So it's a big ask for your first time on the turf, I would say.
Let me ask you about Cairo, the Irish bred who comes in for trainer Alice Haynes. This is a horse that, to me, is kind of your typical type of Arlington Million horse. Not the best European turf horse that we've seen this year. A horse that outran his odds. He was 100-1 last time out when he was third in the Grade 1 Queen Anne Stakes at Royal Ascot. But, Dave, this is a horse that Europeans typically send because they want to see how their I'll call it second-string Europeans stack up against some of our top turf horses.
Exactly. Sorry about that there, Michael. Exactly. Cairo also brings that form of, last start was a mile, and I've often found that the European milers stretch out to the 1.25 mile distance of the million very nicely as well. And then picks up Ben Curtis, who knows this turf course extremely well after being leading rider last year and really starting to run away with the meet here this year. So it fits your definition, which of the second string, and seeing how they stack up against America's best in case they want to take some shots in the fall at Del Mar.
Is there a long shot you have your eye on in this year's million?
Maybe just because we've talked about the horse here locally quite a bit. We put a couple pieces out about Runaway Storm. Ethan Wesley. Ethan's really, starting to make a nice name for himself. And, the horse, was in the Virginia Derby last year. I believe was third, if I'm not mistaken. So, has some experience over this turf course. And, has been running well, again, against lesser company, a big ask today. But, probably could get you a piece of the try or the super.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I mean, if you're going to pick one long shot that could stick around and hold on for a piece, maybe that's the one. How about the race before the Arlington Million? That's one of the things that I always love about this day is that it's not just the Million that is the signature event, but you have the Beverly D and you have the Secretariat run on the same card. Let's start with the Beverly D. Tell me about some of the things we're going to see in there.
Well, I mean, you've got a pretty good favorite there in Bet Your Best, the Ireland-bred Tyler Gaffney riding for Safi. Grade 1 winner last time out in the Gamely, wire to wire. A shorter field here can probably get on the front and maybe not look back here. I don't see a ton of other speed. Beach Bomb probably would go early with Bet Your Best. If you're looking for a horse maybe at a little bit more of a price, there's not really a big price in here, but I'd say maybe Brendan Walsh with Spanish Eyes, a decent second at Delaware. But again, like you were talking about, the kind of European horse, going back to the European form, that translates well over here.
Yeah, and again, a horse that just trying to feel out our top American runners. And I remember I said this earlier in the show, talking with Alistair Donald every year when he would be at the Arlington Million, and we would talk about that Ryder Cup type of feel. And he took such great pride in telling me that the Europeans were going to kick the Americans' tail all over Arlington Park. And, oftentimes he was right because the Euros would take it to them.
They went home empty-handed that year.
Yes, because every year he thought that they were going to take home the top prize. But one good thing about Alistair, when he would sit down and analyze the races with me, he wasn't afraid to tell you if he thought some of the Europeans were overmatched. He wasn't completely a homer.
No, absolutely not. He was very much a realist. He knew when they were sending good ones and when there were some that were, just coming on the plane because others were coming over. And then those horses a lot of times ended up staying in the States, and being transferred to a U.S.-based trainer and then continuing their careers here. So a lot of times the festival was kind of their stepping stone coming across to America.
Who do you like in the Secretariat?
Oh boy, it's always tough with the 3-year-olds going on the grass. But looking at the race, I'm a little bit of a fan of Cairo Caper coming out of the Penn Mile last time, out a good second there, and obviously Cassie with the favorite Dream On. I hate eating chalk, so if I had to go somewhere else, it would be Cairo Caper.
Yeah, try to turn the tables on Dream On. It's great, Dave. It's great to get those two horses in a race like this. I mean, they're quality horses, obviously being greatest stakes winners, or one of them greatest stake winner already. It's cool to see them in a race like the Secretariat.
Absolutely. I mean, these are very important races. Secretariat and Beverly D are grade 2. I think the Beverly D could work its way back up to a grade 1. I mean, with Moira, back a couple of years ago, and I think a very good field this year in the Secretariat. You always look to see how the Secretariat horses do moving forward, because that's where they're going to pick up their grade 2s and grade 1s to help the race.
What other storylines or special wagers or anything like that should horse players be keeping in mind as they get ready for today's Arlington Million program?
Oh, if they want to wager, we've got plenty of opportunities in the 12 race card. Four pick fours, 2 of which are all stakes. 3 pick fives, the last of which is an all stakes pick 5, and the pick 5s are 12% takeout. We do have an Old Dominion 6. It's a standard pick 6, not a jackpot. It's mostly stakes this year. Actually, I think it's all stakes this year, and a small carryover going in of about 3,000. But a little carryover on a day like this can go a long way.
Dave, we had a listener submit a question, which I'm going to bring up with Dale and Tim later in the program, 10:30 Eastern, when they join me for our I Ask, They Answer segment. They brought up the name Arlington Million, and should the race continue to be called the Arlington Million, or maybe be renamed in honor of its new location, something like the Richmond Million or the Colonial Million or something like that? What do you think? Do you like the idea of remembering Arlington with a race like this, or do you like the idea of maybe changing it, for the local folks?
I'm taking the 5th.
Come on. You're such an Arlington diehard. I thought for sure you were going to take the first one.
To me, absolutely.
I do.
To me, absolutely. But I do understand the other side of that one. And most of the world just refers to the race as the Million, so maybe it ends up there sometime down the line. But it's always been that to me. It always will be that to me. But I do understand the realities of where we're at, and if it does go that way, then so be it.
Yeah, this is a day, and I do think they should hold on to the name Arlington Million. I like it. I like remembering Arlington Park. It was one of my favorite racing venues. It was always so beautiful. We were always treated so well there. Mr. D was first class. I like the idea of remembering Arlington Park on this day, and it seems like my thoughts always go there every time we talk about the Arlington Million, no matter where the race is being held.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I grew up there. This is my 33rd or 34th Arlington Million. I've been at 3 different venues for it. I was at the Woodbine one in '88. I was not at the one at Churchill Downs in '22 because I was here at Colonial already, and we were racing that season. And I've been at the 3 obviously that we have, the 2 that have been run so far, and the one today, puts me in the mid-30s. I had intended to do a complete count, and I ran out of fingers and toes.
Dave, who could forget the anniversary that we celebrate this year? I talked about Power Scored. I talked about the Pizza Man, 20 years and 10 years respectively. How about 40 years ago with Teleprompter in 1985?
And if you recall, the reason Teleprompter came over was because Geldings could not run in Group 1s over there, so they felt they had a Grade 1 horse. They needed to find a race. They came over, and they had a Grade 1 horse, as it turned out, that day.
Well, they certainly did. So many great ones have called the Arlington Million, or have gone through the Arlington Million and walked away with the top prize. And we'll see who can do it today. Maybe it's Shug McGaughey getting his first Arlington Million victory of his career. As you heard him say earlier in the show, he hasn't run many horses. Integration last year was his shot at it and came up a little bit short. Maybe he does not come up short this afternoon. Dave, as always, I appreciate the visit, my friend. Thanks for all the support that you give to us here on the network, and we love talking about Colonial and Virginia and the Arlington Million.
Thanks for having me on again, and thanks for playing those stretch codes. I love the memories.
Yep, fantastic stuff. Appreciate it, buddy.
Take care.
Dave Zenner here on HRRN. I remember I talked about Dave joining me on our very first program. Dan Leary was actually the publicity director at Arlington at that time, and he said, sure, you guys want to come up here and broadcast the race? We'll have you up here. And they set us up out back by the beautiful paddock area. We had a table there. We had a television monitor to watch the races throughout the day, and we put together our first race broadcast outside of Kentucky. And it really did get everything launched. So we are eternally grateful to both Dave Zenner, who was working there, and to Dan Leary. But Dave became such a fan of HRN that I remember he had a bowling team that he was part of, and we had at one time HRN bowling shirts. They were black with white on the side, 2 white panels down the front, and we had the HRN logo on them, and Dave loved them so much that he got them for their entire bowling team. And I wish I still had the picture. I probably do somewhere. But it was such a great picture of the entire team wearing the HRN bowling shirts. And, Dave's been a huge supporter for a long time, and we're thrilled to be able to talk about the Arlington Million all these years later with Dave Zenner. My thanks to him for being with me here this morning. Coming up next, we turn our attention to Kentucky Downs. Almost time for opening day there. Ted Nicholson will tell you more. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
And Bling is trying to take off, and here comes Pondering to the outside. Bling and Pondering doing the best work in the final stages, trying to come and get Foxy Cleopatra. Here comes Pondering. 3-year-old filly is front and center in the 7th running of the Kentucky Downs Preview Ladies Turf Sprint.
Pondering, the daughter of Darley Stallion Hard Spun, with an impressive victory in the Kentucky Downs Preview Ladies Turf Sprint. Her first ever black type win, posting a career high 89 buyer speed rating, making her your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Hard Spun, the leading sire of stakes horses among all active stallions, standing for under $75,000. 2 of these won stakes over this past week. Learn more about Hard Spun and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 22nd. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 8 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 22nd, here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They make their way toward the top of the stretch here in the Kentucky Turf Cup. Now getting on the scene is Integration from the back of the pack, who swings up on the outside, and right up there too in contention is Cathkin Peak, and coming up the rail Grand Sonata, and now Cathkin Peak and Grand Sonata have gone by. Here come the rest. Tawny Port is putting in a run. Anglophile is there. Integration trying to squeeze on through. Highway Robber from the back of the pack too. They're all coming down to the line, and it's going to be Grand Sonata and Highway Robber. Grand Sonata did it. Highway Robber was second. Then Tawny Port and Integration.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning as always. That was Larry Colmus with the call of last year's running of the Kentucky Turf Cup Invitational, won by Grand Sonata, who goes as one of the favorites in today's Arlington Million. You just heard us talk about him with Dave Zenner a few minutes ago. He could be a tough out later today, and we'll see if he makes his way back to Kentucky Downs. Vice President of Racing Ted Nicholson is with me now, looking ahead to the meet, which is now just 19 days away. Ted, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Hard to believe we're only 19 days away from this meet.
I can't believe it either. I didn't realize we were that close.
I hope you have all your ducks in a row. There are a lot of ducks to keep in a row with this Kentucky Downs meet now.
It is crazy and gets crazier and crazier every year. But every year we try to do something for everybody. Whether it's the horsemen or the people on property or our racing fans that are betting around the country or around the world. We always try to do something. So I'm hoping that we've hit all the marks.
I'm glad you mentioned the horsemen, Ted, because let's start there. At the beginning of the show, as I was kind of welcoming everybody to the program, I talked about your interview coming up here at 9:40, and I mentioned that horsemen should be paying attention to this conversation because Kentucky Downs has done so much for horsemen over the past several years and continues to build on that momentum. And my goodness, if you want to talk about purse money, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a big focus for us. We have a phenomenal relationship with the HBPA here locally and actually nationally with Eric. It is something that's you can't do anything in this business without a great relationship with your horsemen, and so we do try to do something and work with them, and it's proven to be successful. I think when you look at our purses, the purses that we can transfer to whether it's Ellis Park or Keeneland or to Turfway. So locally in this region, it's one of those high tide raises all boats.
Yeah. What exactly can horsemen expect, Ted, when they show up to this meet, or if they're still considering making plans to be there? What can they expect?
Well, besides the gigantic purses, we've added a new barn. We've elevated the irrigation system. We put a whole new irrigation system into the racetrack. We've improved the paddock, and in the guest experience, we're always improving, whether it's with private suites, adding niceties to our chalet where the stake owners go, or even just at the finish line, adding extra airflow with better ceiling fans from our friends, Big S fans. We try to do whatever we possibly can, to make them feel comfortable. If you have a horse in, you're going to eat and drink for free. So, come on down and enjoy a beautiful day, at Kentucky Downs.
There is no ducking quality competition when you get to Kentucky Downs either. And I know that so many trainers and owners will come on my program over the years and say, yeah, it's nice to be in a soft spot, but we feel like we have good horses. We want to run against the best. They'll get the chance to do that at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, no, there's no question the elevation of the quality that we are seeing. It's amazing. And one of our focuses in the off season was to try and enhance the quality by bringing, or at least trying to draw as much foreign interest that we can to really elevate the game. The last few years, we've had some interest come across the pond. Bellum Justin won the Derby last year for at our track, the Nashville Derby, and I think going home, those folks spread the word. And I was talking to Martin Panza yesterday, and he told me his phone is ringing off the hook with people in England, Ireland, Germany that are just wanting to come to Kentucky Downs.
Well, the 2025 meet, again, which begins in 19 days, features 18 stakes, total purses of $30.5 million. And the way those purses are put together, the stakes a combined $16 million in base purses with another $14.5 million coming from the KTDF, the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund for registered Kentucky breds. Man, that's huge, Ted.
Yeah, I mean, the KTDF is the gigantic driver in the state of Kentucky. There's no question about it. And how you spend those dollars is important, and so that is how we do it at Kentucky Downs. Some of the Kentucky tracks tend to not want to put a lot of KTDF dollars in their stakes program. We feel the opposite. We run our meet right before the Keeneland sales, and so we want people to have a big pocket of cash leaving our track and heading back up to Lexington to buy more horses, buy more Kentucky breds, which is extremely, extremely important.
Are we getting close to nominations closing?
Noms are the 18th, I believe.
Okay.
So we are, 10 days away? 9 days away?
Yep.
So it's getting close. Like I said, phone's ringing off the hook. We'll be ready. Horsemen just need to give us a ring and make sure that their whole stable is fully nominated. There's no reason not to.
How about a handicapping contest? Isn't there usually a pretty big handicapping contest at Kentucky Downs?
We do, and that is our good friend Brian Skirka, who handles our handicapping contest, and he's done that the last few years. If you are a player or are interested, I'm sure you probably, as a player, you probably have Brian on speed dial because he is the preeminent holder of contests. And so we're going to be doing a feeder and then go into the big contest, which would be on the 6th, which is our big one of our bigger days. The other big day that we have is Saturday, the 30th of August. We'll be on NBC, Mike, for 2 hours, and not just. This isn't going to be like an affiliate of NBC, whether it's USA Network or whatever. This is going to be on the, what do they call it, the terrestrial NBC.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be on there from 4 till 6 East Coast time. We're going to have 5 big stakes races that day. With the big race is the $3.5 million Nashville Derby, which we hope is going to be half as good as last year's Derby. But there's just a lot of interest in this race for obvious reasons. And we're excited about that. That day should really be big.
I remember, Ted, when we were talking on this show a year ago, it was about this very same time, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about the creation of that Nashville Derby, and I know how proud you were to get that launched and off the ground. What response have you gotten from horsemen, and maybe what are you most proud of about what you've been able to create?
I think, one, to the level that it's gotten all the way to be on NBC, with the help of the KTDF. But we're going to be on NBC. That's huge for a little town like Franklin, Kentucky. But the response from the horsemen has been outstanding. There's a lot of interest, not just turf horses. We're seeing a lot of interest from horsemen that have former Derby horses, guys that have won, maybe the Arkansas Derby or the Bluegrass or other races that everybody's going to know when they look at the PPs. They're going to go, holy crap, this is a huge race. So we're really excited about the possibility of having one of the best races of the year sitting in Franklin, Kentucky.
Last week, Kevin Kirstein joined me here on the show. We talked about Kentucky Downs preview day at Ellis Park. That's always a big day, kind of sets the stage, gets you in the mood for what's coming up at Kentucky Downs. Today, been talking about the Arlington Million and the Sword Dancer, and I'm sure you're hoping to get a few of those horses running at Kentucky Downs in the next month or so.
Yeah, Mike, the beauty of scheduling is really apparent this year. Where, in years past, it seemed like maybe the Million or the Sword Dancer sat 2 or 3 weeks in front of our meet, or at least in front of our big day. And this year, it's a month out. So we're really excited about the scheduling of both the Million and the Sword Dancer because those races are grade ones, and we put all our energy into trying to get our races elevated every year. And when I started here at Kentucky Downs 11 years ago, we had one graded race. It was a grade 3. And now we have 9 graded races. And now we just want to make sure every one of those 9 is a grade 1. And so to have any of those horses, specifically the winners or horses that run second in the Million or the Sword Dancer, to come and run in our big turf club would be a big feather in our cap.
Ted, anything we have not touched on yet that you want horsemen and fans to know about the upcoming Kentucky Downs meet?
Yeah, I do. A couple things. One, we're going to focus on production. So we're instituting a cable cam that's going to run from the 3/8 pole all the way past the wire. I've also have a drone that's going to be running from, along the backstretch to, down around the turn so people can see, as the horses head down that hill, they be able to know where their horse is. And as far as talent goes, I mean, you had Larry calling the race. Earlier, we're unfortunate that Larry is now, I guess fortunate for Larry, is at Del Mar, permanently replacing Trevor. But we have Michael Rona that's ready, willing, and able to come to Franklin and call the races. But we've also added Brittany Urton, Nick Luck, and Jess Stafford, who resides in England, to come and join Caton Bradar, who's my mainstay, on the talent team. So we're excited about that. And anybody who comes to Kentucky Downs has to go into our brand new sports book. The sports book is the biggest sports book east of the Mississippi. It sits right at the top of the stretch, and you have to walk through there because you will just be amazed at how unbelievable it is.
Ted Nicholson, Vice President of Racing at Kentucky Downs. Again, the meet kicking off on August 28th. That is just 19 days away. Make plans to be there. If you want to learn more, you can go to their website, themintkentukydowns.com. Ted, really appreciate all the support you give to us here on the network. And, of course, we love talking about Kentucky Downs as well. Have a wonderful meet, my friend, and really appreciate you being here this morning.
Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you.
Great stuff. Ted Nicholson here on HRRN. When I come back, time to take a look at a couple historical dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend and look ahead to hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network. The 27th Annual Claiming Crown is back at Churchill Downs November 15th, and you can punch your ticket on Claiming Crown Showcase Day, Thursday, August 21st at Colonial Downs, offering automatic entry into the Claiming Crown for the top 2 finishers in each division. In addition, the winner of each dedicated race on Showcase Day will receive a travel stipend up to $2,000, provided they start in the Claiming Crown in November. Don't miss your chance. Claiming Crown Showcase Day at Colonial Downs is Thursday, August 21st.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, Start skateboarding?
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join me every Friday afternoon to dive deep into handicapping the races. We'll cover the live action from some of the biggest tracks in the country, talk to some of the major players in the game, and hopefully make a little money along the way. You can also call the show to share your opinions, ask a question or two, or maybe just vent about some bad beats. It's Betting with Bobby every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, online channel 999, or streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, make sure you watch the Resorts World Casino Sword Dancer live on Fox Saratoga Saturday. You can join Andy Serling, Maggie Wolfendale, and the Fox team for live racing, plus expert picks and analysis. Fox Saratoga Saturday covers live racing from Saratoga every Saturday through DraftKings Travers Day. You can visit NYRA.com/TV for a complete schedule. Busy show, huh? Well, they all are busy every time you tune in here to the Equine Forum on Saturday morning. We take pride in that. We've covered a lot of ground talking about the Arlington Million, the Sword Dancer, looking back on last week's Winning Your In races with Miguel Clement as we went down the road to the Breeders' Cup, and spent some time looking back on the Fasig-Tipton Saratoga sale, which shattered records, and, of course, talking about Kentucky Downs with Ted Nicholson in the previous segment. Poll question this morning. Who is your pick to win today's Arlington Million? Is it Integration, the favorite? Is it Cairo, the European entrant? Mystic Dan, or somebody else? The voting, pretty close. 34% going for Integration and Mystic Dan. 26% saying it will be somebody other than the top three. And Cairo, just 6% of the vote. So not many believers in the European runner there, thinking the Americans will hold serve in this year's edition. Don't forget the answer to this week's Impossible Trivia question coming your way, 10:55 Eastern. If you did miss it, here it is. In 1937, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney starred in their first film together in a movie in which Mickey Rooney plays a cocky young jockey who gets mixed up with some crooked gamblers. What was the title of that movie? Again, the answer comes up 10:55 Eastern. I hope you get it right. Time to take a look at a few dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend. Today, a special day, August 9th, 1999. That is the anniversary of late trainer D. Wayne Lucas, jockey Russell Bays, and horses Miesk, Exceller, and Gunbow being inducted into the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame in Saratoga Springs, New York. Tomorrow, August 10th, 1868, not 19, 1868, the anniversary of the Dinner Party Stakes, devised by a group of 7 influential thoroughbred owners after a dinner at Saratoga a few days before. It was advertised with a request for nominations. The stakes race, designed to showcase racing in Baltimore, was to be run 2 years hence in 1870 and at the yet-to-be-built Pimlico Racecourse. How about that? August 10th, 1868. And one more for you. August 10th, 1982. Now, let's go with this one. August 10th, 1996. I like this one better. Cigar was denied a 17th straight victory when long shot Darren Go passed him in the stretch of the Pacific Classic at Del Mar. I remember exactly where I was standing the day that happened. I was watching the race at Saratoga in the carousel area. Watched it on TV there. And Darren Go, I believe Trevor said it in his call, that on his day he's a classy veteran. Or I'm paraphrasing, of course, but something along those lines. And boy, was he classy that day. denied Cigar that 17th straight victory. Speaking of Cigar, trainer Bill Mott, the trainer of Cigar, his son Riley, who won his first greatest stakes, a grade 1 last weekend at Saratoga, was with me on Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton yesterday. You can go back to the website and check out that show. I think you're really going to enjoy it. He was fantastic. You can do that, too, on every podcast platform. And if you missed any portion of the first 2 hours, same thing. Head back, check out the podcast afterwards. But we have one more hour to go, loaded with more content, including the TwinSpires Triple Play. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to the third hour on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, ESPN 680 in Louisville, and streaming at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum coming your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
They're coming inside the final 16th. Here is Giovanni, just as well as charging hard. Stops full this third. Giovanni adds the million to his grade 1 collection. Stormy Land leads them in the final furlong and a half. Here comes Admiral Kitten's charge now. Toward the inside is Jack Milton, then Viziani, down to the final half furlong. Admiral Kitten has taken the lead now for Rosie Napravnik in the Secretariat Stakes. Admiral Kitten on top.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Latia in front with a furlong to go. Latia, solid appeal, and here comes Dank, who's gone right past them both. It's Dank and Ryan Moore. Dank is pulling away as Europe keeps its hold on the Beverly D, and Dank with an emphatic 5-length win.
Wild final furlong coming here in the Sword Dancer, and here comes Point of Entry, who's running to daylight. Point of Entry coming down to the line. Al Kelly then moves down toward the rail in brilliant speed, and in the Hall of Fame hands of Johnny Velasquez, and a Hall of Fame rider it was. Point of Entry wins the Sword Dancer.
Now here's Mike Penna.
So many great moments over the years. I hope you've enjoyed the first 2 hours of the program, where we have talked about some of those moments and looked ahead to what could be some really spectacular moments coming up this afternoon with great racing in Arlington, Richmond, Virginia. Colonial, Richmond, Virginia, with the Arlington Million being held there. Of course, you have Saratoga, you have Del Mar, all kinds of action around the country. Ellis Park has a big weekend, too. Welcome back, Hour 3 of the Equine Forum. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you along for the ride. One more hour to go. Plenty of content in this final hour of the show, including the TwinSpires Triple Play. James Scully joins me momentarily. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, remembering recent Hall of Fame inductee Smarty Jones, and Dale and Tim coming up at 10:30 Eastern with I Ask, They Answer. But time now to kick off Hour 3, as we do every week, with the TwinSpires Triple Play. James, good morning, brother.
Good morning, Mike. Happy Arlington Million Day. It's this has been a big weekend for 40 years now, and it's great to see, that Colonial has taken over it. This is the third year there at Colonial Downs, and excited to talk about some races there this afternoon.
Yeah, you've got a couple coming from Colonial, one at Saratoga as part of the TwinSpires Triple Play. TwinSpires, listen, every weekend we talk about these awesome promotions and contests. What's going on this weekend?
Yeah, if you're going to bet the races this weekend, TwinSpires.com is the place. We have, if you go to our offers page, we're going to have a summer selected money back promotion. I think it's races 5 through almost all the races at Colonial Downs today, 3 stakes at Ellis tomorrow. And if your selection runs, if you first horse you bet wins, to win in a race, run second or third, we're going to give you your money back. So check out that. We have other great promotions surrounding pick 3s, pick 5s, daily doubles, and more. Check out the offers page and make sure you opt in. And then if you're in the tournaments, live money handicapping contests, check out our tournaments tab at TwinSpires.com. We got a lot of great events. We have a big qualifier this weekend for the Breeders' Cup and Mint Millions, the Mint Millions Breeders' Cup, and lots of different tracks, lots of different events for all size bankrolls. So go to the tournaments tab to see the details and schedule.
All right, and you can bet all the races we're going to talk about this morning and all the races you're going to play every weekend with TwinSpires. James, let's dive in to your 3 selections. The first 2 coming from Colonial Downs. One of those is the Arlington Million, and then the final race coming from Saratoga. But you selected race number 7 at Colonial as the first leg of the TwinSpires Triple Play. It is the Andy Guest Stakes with a purse of $150K, a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. Man, you love these turf sprints, don't you?
I do. I like turf sprints, and I've even got a state-bred entry-level allowance, 2 turns on the turf. That those races can really generate some prices. So I thought this Andy Guest, really, I'm going to take on the favorite on the morning line. This is Gambellini. I don't think she'll make the lead from the inside. It could be vulnerable in this spot. There's certainly some speed tied on. Number 8, Cart Girl Sam, has broken on top in her last 2 races. In fact, this is a 3-year-old. This is a filly, a 4-year-old filly who, back in 2024, switched the turf in August, defeated a state-bred field. Wasn't much that day, but then she was off for the next 14 months. Came back this year for Rohan Critton. And after a comebacker where she didn't break from the gate, and that's the only bad effort of her career, in her last 2 efforts, Cart Girl Sam has, like I said, broken on top in tough, salty, optional allowance, optional claiming events at Churchill Downs. Mike, both those fields that she faced had stakes horses, stakes veterans in them. She ran a good third after setting the pace, a wicked pace, 21:43, held to be a close third. And then last out on June 29th, Cart Girl Sam continued to progress with a terrific effort. She broke on top, could have gone to the lead, but she eased back and just tracked the front runners in third, a couple lengths back, made her move, and won convincingly, going away by a length. The runner-up in that effort, just Foxy Cleopatra, stakes veteran, just came back and ran a half-length second in the Kentucky Downs Lady Turf Preview Stakes at Ellis Park last Saturday. The third-place finisher, Nikki Nine Doors, is a stakes winner who was favored that day. Neither one of those rivals, who are both quality fillies, were a match for Cart Girl Sam, who is rapidly progressing right now. I like the jock switch to Javier Castellana, who's fit well on these Rohan Critton horses, riding Macho Music to a big win in the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day, same connections. And I'm going with Cart Girl Sam, number 8, at 6-1 on the morning line in the Andy Guest Stakes.
James, you think her owners have played some golf at a course with a cart girl named Sam?
I would think so. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. And, I bet they love, that would, I wonder if they have any other names surrounded something like that, 19th hole, Bob after the bartender or something. But, like I said, this filly's going to break running, but I like the fact that she could sit if necessary. There is some other speed in this field. She'll either be on or sitting up close, and being drawn outside just gives jockey Javier Castellano options.
All right, 6-1 on the morning line for Cart Girl Sam, number 8, in race number 7 at Colonial Downs, James's first leg of his TwinSpires Triple Play on this Saturday morning. James, the second leg is the big one, the Grade 1 Arlington Million, purse of $1 million, mile and a quarter on the turf. We get to see Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan in his turf debut, but he is not the favorite, but he's among the favorites. How'd you see this one?
This is a race where you got Mystic Dan. It's just a big question mark switching the turf for this horse. He's got some pedigree for it, but it's tough for me to endorse going 10 furlongs on the grass with no experience. We see some good horses like Curlin and others do it after their 4-year-old season and get beat. And I'm against him. I think that the late runners in here are obviously dangerous. Integration of Fort Washington, I think they're both going to get bet pretty good, and we'll try to pick them off the pace. But I wound up going with number 7, Grand Senada, and I like his chances for a good tactical tactical trip, like sort of right off the speed, make his move, leaving the far turn, and hold off the late runners. And what I really like about this 6-year-old is that last fall, he really ran his best race of his career, going 1.5 miles in the Kentucky Turf Cup. He was more of an off-the-pace horse earlier in his career. But this year, Pletcher, he didn't go on from that race, Mike, in his following efforts at 1.5 miles, and he is cutting back in distance this year. He went in the Mac Diarmida at 1 mile and 3/8, almost the same distance as the Million, and ran a huge effort back in March. He ran a head second that day, showed good tactical ability. And then last time in the UN, he didn't break well, but I really like how he was able to race up within striking range the whole time. Redistricting offered obviously a good run to win there, but Grand Signana finished up full run as well, I thought, to be a good second. And I just think that he's like rounding into a top effort. This 1.25 mile distance is going to hit him right between the eyes, and I like his tactical ability. I'm a little bit leery of Fort Washington integration closing from off the pace. Fort Washington, I give him credit, but I thought that I just didn't, I think he's too much of a question at the 10 furlong distance. I think he's better at 1 mile and 1/16 or 1 mile and 1/8. And integration, he's just a type, Mike, who is like two of his last 11 starts gets beat all. He's just too inconsistent for me. And rallying from off the pace, I could see him coming up short and like he did last year in second. So I'm going with Grand Signata at 8-1 with Tyler Cavalione in the Arlington Million.
Yeah, looking at Integration's company lines, getting beat by Deterministic and Carl Spackler and Spirit of St. Louis, he certainly warrants favoritism based on the competition he's been facing, but as you say, he's got to prove that he can put it all together and get to the wire first over a horse like Grand Sonata and everybody else in there, including the Derby winner Mystic Dan. But Grand Sonata 8-1 on the morning line under Tyler Gaffalione would be a great way for him to cap off his return after coming back from injury, and what better way to prove you're back than winning the Grade 1 Arlington Million. All right, James, one more to get to. It's race number 12 at the Spa. The last leg you've chosen should be a really good one. Tell me how you saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excuse me. There's 2 stakes before it. They definitely both have the potential to be salty. I mean, I think they have not only is the favorite imposing in both races, but the second choice on the morning line is the other most likely horse. So those are kind of things where, if I'm playing those out favorites, I like to play with multi-race wagers if I can find some value around them, especially. And in race number 12, the finale at Saratoga, it's 1 mile and 1/8 turf allowance for New York breds, and the race has a whole bunch of speed in it, Mike. You've got several runners that like to do their best running on or close to the front end. And with it being an entry-level allowance, you also have some horses in here who just have maiden wins. Well, a horse who has way more experience, has been facing open, tough rivals at Gulfstream Park, is number 9, Ortis. He's going to be rallying late. I think he's going to get the right setup with a really solid contested pace up front. And I like how he is coming into this race for Lisa Lewis. In his last 3 starts, which are arguably the best races of his career, and believe me, he's run well against New York breds way back in the past in 2023. So he fits with this company level. But in his last 3 starts, he, going 1 mile, 3 back, he ran a close 4th to a race that had the runner-up and third-place finisher both come back and win races. The runner-up flat top box won 2 straight. Really a good field that day. Then he came back and finished a close 3rd, Ortis did, to Uncle John, who also won 2 in a row after that and was just favored in a Horseshoe Indy allowance. And then last time out, he rallied to win convincingly, Ortis did, over Victory Dash, who had finished in front of him in his race 2 starts previously, and even Victory Dash came right back to win a $25,000 open claimer in his next start. So he's been flattered by having 4 next out winners from the top 3 finishers in his last 3 races. That's good competition. Those turf sprints at Gulfstream Park, open, even these at the claiming level, can be real competitive. And now he catches a field where you get a horse like Charles J, who's 5-1. He's 1-for-11 in his career, Mike. Number 2, Amplitude for Chad Brown, has only a maiden win last September at Aqueduct to his credit, and he's unplaced in 2 starts this year. Just a very, to me, suspect group of maiden winners or horses that have been exposed that have to step up. And I love the way Orders is coming in the field. I'm going to get some value at 10-1 on the morning line, I hope. And I'm going to be playing Orders number 9 in race 12 at Saratoga today.
All right, James Scully's TwinSpires triple play. Let's recap. No chalk here for James Scully this morning. Race 7 at Colonial, he'll take number 8, Cart Girl Sam at 6-1 on the morning line. Race 11, the Arlington Million, he'll look to number 7, Grand Sonata at 8-1. And in race 12 at Saratoga, the finale on their Saturday program, he'll go with number 9, Ortis at odds of 10-1. And don't forget, you can play each of those races with TwinSpires and bet all the races you're going to play today and every day with TwinSpires. James, appreciate it, brother. Good luck.
Thanks so much, Mike. You have a great afternoon and great rest of your weekend.
All right, go get him, my friend. James Scully with the TwinSpires triple play. Still to come, Kurt Becker takes you on his Stroll Through Racing History, and Dale and Tim coming your way 10:30 Eastern with I Ask, They Answer. Also going to reveal the answer to this week's Impossible Trivia question. If you didn't catch it earlier in the program, here you go. In 1937, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney starred in their first film together. It was a movie in which Mickey Rooney plays a cocky young jockey who gets mixed up with some crooked gamblers. What was the title of that movie? No Googling. The answer comes your way toward the end of the show at 10:55 Eastern. Poll question this morning. Who is your pick to win today's Arlington Million? Give you Integration, the favorite, Cairo, the Irish bred, Mystic Dan, the Derby winner, or someone else. And if you think it's someone else, you can comment and let us know. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, but keep those votes coming. Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The biggest day in Washington State racing history is now even bigger and better. On Saturday, August 17th, watch and wager on 6 stakes races, including the 90th running of the prestigious Long Acres Mile. Play the all-stakes, Pick 4, Pick 5, and Pick 6. Look for past performances in all editions of the August 17th Daily Racing Forum. Join us for racing at Emerald Downs on Sunday, August 17th. Host time, 1:50 p.m. Pacific.
Monmouth Park's summer season rolls on with live racing action starting at 12:50 every weekend. Monmouth's 2025 season featured increased total handle for the 4th straight year. The biggest pools means bigger payoffs. New for 2025, Monmouth introduces a 50-cent middle pick 5, joining the win early pick 5 on the wagering menu. With a stakes race every Saturday and Sunday, Monmouth Park is your summer place to profit. Attending on site, lock in your odds with fixed odds wagering at Monmouth Park Racetrack.
Colonial Downs summer racing season is here with racing 4 days a week. Afternoon racing on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern and a twilight post of 4 p.m. Eastern every Friday. Back is our popular 12% takeout pick 5 offered twice daily. Join us for our biggest days of the season. August 9th at noon for Colonial Downs Festival of Racing, which features the Arlington Million, and then September 6th, the Grade 3 Old Dominion Derby. Colonial Downs, the race is just the start.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He won 2 legs of the U.S. Triple Crown, became a Philadelphia sports star, and won the hearts of racing fans around the country. And he was recently inducted into racing's Hall of Fame. His name is Smarty Jones. A homebred which raced for the Someday farm of Roy and Pat Chapman, Smarty Jones was foaled in Chester County, Pennsylvania on February 28, 2001. A chestnut colt by Elusive Quality out of I'll Get Along by Smile, his pedigree suggested he would be a sprinter. Sharing a birthday with Pat's mother, Mildred Smarty Jones McNair, and therefore named in her honor, Smarty the Equine was described as frisky, playful, and mischievous off the track, but fiercely competitive on it. He was sent to George Isaacs at Bridlewood Farm in Ocala, Florida to be put through his early training before shipping north in the spring of 2003 to prepare for his career debut. Bob Kamak, the trainer who had planned the mating which produced Smarty Jones, had been murdered late in 2001. It was devastating to the Chapmans, who had considered leaving the horse business entirely. But they moved forward with Smarty Jones, and they chose John Service to be the colt's trainer. In April of 2003, Smarty himself nearly died as the result of an accident while training. Schooling in the starting gate at Philadelphia Park, he had reared up and struck his head on an iron bar, which was part of the gate's framework. The accident resulted in microfractures of the skull, a broken eye socket, and a significant loss of blood, but he would recover. Finally making his debut in November at Philadelphia Park, known today as Parks Racing, Smarty Jones won a maiden special weight at 6 furlongs as the even money favorite by nearly 8 lengths. 2 weeks later, he won the restricted Pennsylvania Nursery Stakes as the odds-on favorite by 15 lengths at 7 furlongs. In January of 2004, Smarty Jones, a small horse at 15.3 hands, began his 3-year-old campaign by winning the Count Fleet Stakes at Aqueduct by 5 lengths at 1 1/16 miles at odds of 2-5. He then went to Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and won the Southwest Stakes again as the odds-on favorite. Service had chosen to ship Smarty to Oaklawn because the colt needed time to mature, given his late start as a juvenile. Service believed it best to avoid Gulfstream Park, where he thought the leaders of the division would be headed. As it happened, Oaklawn was offering a bonus that year, labeled as a centennial bonus in honor of the track's 100th anniversary. It would be worth $5 million and would go to the connections of any horse which could sweep the Rebel Stakes, the Arkansas Derby, and the Kentucky Derby. And Smarty Jones immediately put himself in contention for that award, winning both Oaklawn races, including the Grade 2 Arkansas Derby, as the even money favorite at 1 1/8 miles. At Churchill Downs, the date would be May 1st, 2004 for the 130th running of the Kentucky Derby. Stuart Elliott, age 39, had ridden Smarty in all of his starts, and he would be in the saddle at Louisville that day for his first ever mount in the Derby. In fact, it would be the first Kentucky Derby starter for the Chapmans, and for Service too. Smarty Jones stepped into the starting gate as the 4-1 favorite. Tom Durkin gives us the call.
And undefeated Smarty Jones comes wide off the turn, and these two hook up at the top of the stretch. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out, and those two deadlocked at the 8th pole, and Smarty Jones is roused to the lead by journeyman jockey Stuart Elliott, and they have taken the lead away from Lionheart. Farther back, it's Limehouse and Imperialism, and here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle Slough in 1977. Smarty Jones has done it.
Despite having what many saw as a sprinter's pedigree, Smarty Jones had no problem handling the Derby distance of 1.25 miles, and he won Oaklawn's $5 million bonus in the process. For an encore, he went to the Preakness 2 weeks later and once again dazzled racing fans. Tom Durkin calls him home.
Smarty Jones has taken the lead. It is Smarty Jones in front. Lionheart doing his best, but he's second. Rockheart is third as they come into the final furlong of the 129th precinct, and it ends Smarty Jones. He's pulling away. He's pulling away to win impressively here. Rockheart 10, second on the inside. He's going to win by a colossal margin. Here is Smarty Jones. He wins the Preakness by 12 lengths. He remains undefeated, and it's on to Belmont. This Philadelphia story continues its magical way to the elusive Triple Crown. Rockheart 10 was second, who was close for third. The final time was 1 minute 55 and 2/5 seconds. This is special.
The official margin of victory, 11.5 lengths, was a Preakness record. A working-class runner had become a star in the sport of kings. But a Triple Crown was not meant to be, as the honor of winning the Belmont Stakes would go to a horse named Birdstone at odds of 36-1. Smarty Jones, the 1-5 favorite, ran second, beaten a length. The Belmont, run before a record crowd of 120,000, would be the final start of Smarty Jones' career. He would retire with 8 wins from 9 starts to go with earnings of $7.6 million, and he would be named Champion 3-Year-Old Male of 2004. Today, Smarty stands at stud in his native Pennsylvania, having sired 36 stakes winners and 14 graded stakes winners to date. He was formally inducted into the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame on August 1st, 2025. Trainer John Service said, quote, "Beyond his talent, he had something more special, his connection with people. He wasn't just a racehorse, he was a hero. Whether it was his rags to riches story, his blue-collar roots, or the way he fought every step of the way, fans saw themselves in him. He reminded us all of why we love this sport." End quote. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Kurt Becker with another fantastic story. If you did miss it, head over to our website after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Podbean or Apple Podcasts to hear all of our weekly shows. Coming up next, I welcome Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 22nd. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 8 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 22nd, here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Live racing for the 25-day Ellis Park meeting begins Thursday, July 3rd and runs through Saturday, August 24th, with a record $4 million in stakes purses led by 7 stakes across Kentucky Downs Preview Weekend on August 2nd and 3rd, and 6 stakes on Sunday, August 10th, featuring the $300,000 Ellis Park Derby and the $200,000 Groupie Doll. Connections with Kentucky-bred horses will be competing for $100,000 maiden special weight purses and allowances up to $108,000, and horse players will have plenty of action throughout the summer. For a full list of events, visit EllisParkOwensboroGaming.com.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Here comes the run from Stronghold and Resilience has now moved up to take the lead as this is given way, coming by the 16th hole, and Mystic Dan is now come through on the inside. It is Mystic Dan down toward the inside with the lead in the final 16th. Forever Young, Sierra Leone is coming. These 3 coming down the wire. Who's it going to be? Oh, it's the photo of the Derby. Oh, it's the photo. Was it Mystic Dan or was it Sierra Leone? Forever Young is between them. Catching Freedom finish 4th. A photo finish to decide the 150th Kentucky Derby.
Larry Colmus with a call. Last year's Kentucky Derby hero Mystic Dan makes his turf debut in today's Arlington Million. Is it right or wrong to believe he will walk away with the top prize? Plus, buy or sell Fierceness and White Abarrio following their disappointing efforts in last Saturday's Whitney. And Dale and Tim share their thoughts on a few up-and-coming stars in the trainer ranks. All of those topics and much, much more straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. And all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
All right, guys, a few topics submitted by our listeners, a couple that I put together for you. I think this will be a fun show. Last weekend at Saratoga, we watched a pair of high pedigree young trainers, Miguel Clement and Riley Mott, saddle Grade 1 winners. Clement taking the 4-Star with Deterministic, and Mott winning the Saratoga Derby Invitational with World Beater. What words best describe what we're seeing from these two young stars, and who are some of the other up-and-coming trainers we should be keeping an eye on as we move forward here? Dale, let me start with you.
Well, I guess we have a little changing of the guard going on. We have, we lost Wayne Lucas, and other guys coming behind got to fill the shoes of all of us old guys that will be heading out. And those are two good young horse trainers and two good young men. I know Riley very well, a lot more than I do Miguel, but I watched Miguel from afar, and of course I knew his father well. But good guys doing well. They're going to be major players for a long time. Guys coming up behind them, I'm going to stick with a guy like Norman Cassie. We talked about this once before. He headed my list the last time we talked about this subject, but he had lost a couple of owners that passed away and kind of slowed him down a little bit, but he's a good horse trainer that's going to bounce back and do good. I think he's a name for the future.
Dale, do you see any similarities in these young kids, if you will? I'll call them kids because I'm sitting here at 54 years old. So Miguel Clement, Riley Mott, Norm Cassie, do you see any similarities in the way that they run their operation and train their horses to what their parents, their fathers did?
Well, they're carbon copies, and why shouldn't they be? I mean, their fathers, all three, have done great. So follow in their footsteps and do what they've done, and you'll have a great career.
Timmy, what do you think?
You talk about Riley and Miguel. Obviously, they got good bloodlines from where they've come from. Both of them, worked for their fathers. Riley was under Bill for 8 years before he went out, and Miguel worked with his dad for over 10 years before. It's unfortunate that Christoph passed away and thrust Miguel into that spot probably quicker than he probably wanted, out for sure. But they both. I mean, I talked to Riley after he won his first Grade 1 last week, and he was keeping World Beater at his dad's barn. His stock is down in Kentucky, and it was kind of funny that Bill was talking about getting beat by his son. He said, I wanted to beat his blank. He wasn't trying to sugarcoat it. He wanted to beat his son, but he was also very happy for him. Both of those guys, I've talked to both of them, and they remind me so much of their fathers because of the way I dealt with their dads for years. And these two guys coming up are going to do a lot of really good things. And as far as others, that you mentioned the young generation coming up. I mean, Dale mentioned Norm Cassie, which is a good one. How about Will Walden, son of Elliot Walden? He's slowly beginning to make his own niche, and even look at Amelia Green, who spent many years working for Todd Fletcher, went out on her own last fall. She got her first training win at Saratoga a week ago. She's someone that bears watching. She could be doing some good in the next few years. So the game is going to be in good hands. There's always going to be up and coming trainers, but it's going to be a while before they can knock off the old guards like our friend Dale Romans.
It was funny the other day too. I was with Tim when we were talking to Bill about it, and so I asked him. I said, "How happy was Mom?" I said, "She was all for Riley." And, yeah, Tina was all about racing. And Bill said there's even been a couple of times they've had horses in against one another. She told Bill, he said, "Scratch."
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, look, father-son relationship can only go so far when you have horses running against each other in a Grade 1. You got to draw the line somewhere, right, Dale?
You do. And my father and I ran against each other, and nothing made me happier than to beat him. And I think he felt the same way. He liked beating me.
But I'm sure that when you did beat him, there was a lot of pride from him.
Always was. It always was.
And the same thing with Bill and Riley. I mean, Bill wanted to beat him badly, but they said they had pizza and a couple beers that night back at the house, and I'm sure they told some good stories.
Yep.
Yeah, well, congratulations to Riley and Miguel. What a weekend for those two, and more big things on the horizon for each of them. Shane in North Carolina sends us our next topic. He says, following the disappointing finishes for Fierceness and White Barrio in last weekend's Whitney, should we still be buying them as serious Breeders' Cup Classic contenders, or, guys, is it time to put out the for sale sign? Tim, what do you think?
I get a kick out of whenever a horse runs bad, it's time for them to not run anymore. They're not going to be able to do it anymore. I'm not buying that at all. You take the case of Fierceness. Yeah, he was fifth in the Whitney, but he set a track record earlier this year at Churchill at a mile of 16th, second in the Met Mile, and on a track he probably didn't like. I'm not discounting him. I think he can rebound. He's rebounded before. He was sold down the river after he stunk it up in the Derby last year. And look what he did the rest of the year. White Barrio, I talked to Saffy Joseph the other day about him, and he said that if you watch the race over again, look how wide he was in the stretch. He was like 6 or 7 wide. If he's got that wide, does he win the race? Probably not, but he might be closer than he was. The only problem I have with White Barrio is that if the Breeders' Cup was in Florida, I'd say he's got a huge chance. Yes, granted, he won the Breeders' Cup a couple of years ago, but and he also won the Whitney here, but 8 of his 10 wins have all been at Gulfstream Park. I think he's a different horse down there. A couple of years ago when he did blow up the field in the Whitney and then he powered in the Breeders' Cup Classic, I don't know if he's going to get back to that level. Maybe he will. I'm not selling him out down the river yet, but I think he's got work to do. They both have work to do, but I'm not selling them out. These horses are too good.
I think I'm going to sell them both out. I don't like either one of them for the Breeders' Cup. I don't think Fierceness is gritty enough, and Tim and White and Barrio got something in common. They're both getting a little long in the tooth, and I don't think we're going to see either one of them being major contenders come November.
Well, now White Barrio looks like he's going out to Del Mar for the Pacific Classic. I thought he was going to stay here for the Jockey Club, but now his owners are saying that they want to send him out there to get to run in the Pacific Classic, get a race over the track.
I like that move.
Well, because Saffy had told me he was thinking Jockey Club Gold Cup, so it seems to me that the owner jumped in and said, let's do this. And the owner pays the bills, right?
He's going to have to take on journalism.
And Nisos, who's on my fantasy team, by the way.
And journalism, man.
I don't have anybody good on my team. How did this work out?
Well, it's your world, boss.
Well, I do like Dale. Would you like that move if you were training White Barrio? Would you like the idea of sending him out for the Pacific Classic, sending him out to Del Mar for that race, as opposed to keeping him at Saratoga again?
I would, but then I'd plan on keeping him there. Logistically, I wouldn't like it; it'd be a nightmare. But I do like the move to. If you're going to give him a real chance to win it, I think it's a good play.
But what do they now? After the Del Mar meet ends, can they stay there and train, or do they have to go somewhere else?
I don't know, but I wouldn't bring him back from California.
No, I think he's staying out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably should. Let him get that race over the track. Maybe he runs huge over it. Who knows? But then let him get acclimated and stay there instead of bringing him back and forth. I agree. I think that this is actually a smart play if you're really serious about trying to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. I don't think Saratoga gets him ready for that race.
You're right.
Yeah. All right, well, it's that time of the show where we get to segue to our friend Nick Zito and say hello to the Hall of Famer. Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Well, let's find out, Nicky. Trainer Ken McPeak has been talking about giving his Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan a shot on the grass. Well, he's going to get that shot later today in the Grade 1 Arlington Million. What a way to make your grass debut. If I were to say that Mystic Dan will win this year's Arlington Million, guys, would I be right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Tim?
I'm giving this a lot of thought. I'm going to go, I don't think he wins it. I know Kenny McPeak, and Kenny is very ambitious about everything he does. He's given this horse a chance to, to really open up some eyeballs. This is his first ever race on the grass, and this was, he made the decision after he worked him on the grass for the first time on August 1st. He says he was impressed enough to say, let's go out to the Million. I mean, granted, it's not a field that's going to make a lot of people shake in their boots. I mean, Integration is the favorite for Shug McGaughey and our friends at West Point. He's 8-5. This horse is a hard knocker. He was second in the Manhattan, only beat ahead. He's also won 3 or 4 at Colonial. And Shug told me the other day that he's not going just because of that. He thinks the horse is doing well enough that he could really put a dent in this field, and he might be right. But as far as Mystic Dan goes, I think he might take to the grass, but I'm not sure this is a tough spot to, even though the field isn't stellar, it's a grade 1, it's a tough spot to make your debut on the lawn. So I'm going to say he won't win.
Yeah, I'm saying I put 10 seconds worth of thought in it, and I say he won't win. And I think Kenny's managed him in an odd way, in my opinion, ever since the Kentucky Derby. He's done some strange things when he's asked a lot of this horse, and I think it's too much to ask.
Well, let me follow up this way with you, Dale. Sean in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, has another question as it pertains to the Arlington Million. He wants to know, should they keep the name Arlington Million or maybe rename it to the Richmond to tie into its new home at Colonial Downs? What do you think?
No, I think it definitely should stay the Arlington Million. It's the first $1 million race ever run in America. And, we have races named after famous horses, famous trainers that have passed on. And I think keeping the Arlington name alive is a good thing. It should always be the Arlington Million.
Timmy, you agree?
No, I don't agree with that one. I mean, Arlington is gone. The racetrack is gone. You gotta let the name of the race go with it, in my opinion. It's in a new place at Colonial. Call it the Colonial Cash Million or something like that. That's a horrible name. But, get the marketing people to get something snazzy, get a new name for a new identity at a new track.
Sean, interesting question.
Timmy. You're wrong again.
Why am I wrong?
I don't know. All the time, seems like.
I know. I got my chalkboard up, and I don't see a lot of wrongs on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, that's an interesting question.
Park, and I want to keep the name alive.
Okay, well, we agree to disagree.
Yeah, Dale, I'm with you. I like the idea of keeping it the Arlington Million to remember what was one of the great racetracks in the United States, no doubt about it. Okay, we'll bring Nick Zito back for that segment again next week, as we do every week here on I Ask the Answer. We move on to Tom in St. Louis, who has a question, guys, and this is an interesting one. Sunday night, Hit Show, who won the Dubai World Cup, and Grade 1 winner East Avenue, both raced at Mountaineer in races with, one was $400,000, the other one was a $200,000 purse. Hit Show won the listed West Virginia Governor Stakes, while East Avenue disappointed as the favorite in the Grade 3 West Virginia Derby. Does this mean that the connections of big-name horses are now taking these so-called minor stakes races more seriously by sending them to these spots, some of the more high-caliber horses? Dale, what do you think?
No, I don't think it's anything new. I think those horses, they tried the top dogs. They looked good for a while. They couldn't cut it, so they had to go to the B circuit for a little while. Maybe they'll show back up on the A circuit, but I don't think it's anything new. I think those horses went where the money was that they thought they could win. 60% of something is better than 0% of a bigger pot.
Yeah, well, Hit Show got to find that out. Of course, East Avenue did not. But Tom also had a question for you, Dale. He said, when you won the Dubai World Cup with Roses in May, would you have ever considered racing at a quote-unquote lower-level racetrack in a significantly less prestigious race than the Dubai World Cup?
I mean, he never ran again after Dubai World Cup, but I wouldn't have thrown any race out. I mean, yeah, I would have went anywhere to win. You know, he going to the Dubai World Cup, he won at Prairie Meadows, the Cornhusker. He won at Turfway Park when he used to have a big prep race for the Breeders' Cup. So I took him to the smaller tracks before he got to be who he was, but that's kind of where he made his way.
Tim, they say to keep yourself in the best company and your horses in the worst company. Is this what we're looking at here with this question?
Maybe. The owners and the trainers, they map out a plan for where they want their horses to be ultimately, and they want to get them there in the best possible way. You know, if they have to take a spot in what is so-called the lesser circuit, which, you know, to me, what running in West Virginia isn't like running in Saratoga, but the last time I looked, the money they offer at West Virginia and the money they offer at Saratoga is still green, and it's still real, and it still counts when it goes into the bank. If you can win one of them races, why not take it?
Yeah, and I think especially if you're going to be a heavy favorite, like both of those horses were, if you're going to be a massive favorite and you have a chance to knock down a purse like that, as you said, Tim, why not just do it? And as Dale pointed out, Hit Show will step back up for his next start, I'm sure, and he's going to point for the Breeders' Cup Classic. This was just a spot that fit for him, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know what's more interesting is East Avenue is an intriguing horse to me. I loved him as a 2-year-old last year. I thought he was picture-perfect horse. Beautiful, and when he stumbled out of the gate at the Breeders' Cup, he really just has not been the same.
Yeah.
Is that a common situation where horses have some type of adversity and then they don't come back to where they were?
It's almost carbon copy with Dennis's moment when I had him at 6-5 in the Breeders' Cup and he fell out of the gate out of the one hole. It is. It's kind of intriguing.
Dale, with Dennis's moment when that happened, do you think does that get into a horse's head that they think back to that when they go into the gate the next time?
I'll say he was never the same after that, and I don't know. The only thing it could be is it does get in their head. I mean, it jars them to do that. It's a lot of weight to fall like that, but we did everything we could. We gave him some time. He came back and won some races, but he was never the horse he was before that happened.
I mean, I remember how high you were on that horse going into that Breeders' Cup.
He was a really good horse, really good.
Now, interesting question,
Tom. It was a dark day in my career that day.
Yeah, highest highs and lowest lows, right, Dale?
Yeah, that was the skier flying off the slopes.
It certainly was.
Wide world of sports moment.
Yep, you got to be old to get that reference.
I got it. And I'm not that old.
Well, Rick in Sacramento, California has one for you guys, and he recently saw some pictures that Tim had posted on social media. Dale, I know you didn't see them because you don't even know what social media is, but some of racing's biggest stars, like Torpedo Anna, were featured in the pictures that Tim had posted, and he wants to know if those types of horses are different around the barn compared to other horses not at that level. What do you think, Dale? Are they different, their personalities?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. They're all smart, and they're all manageable. I've never had a top horse that I didn't think was really a smart horse. Now, you'll have some horses that are smart that aren't that fast, but you'll never have a fast one, true quality horse that just isn't very intelligent about everything they do. And they are different. They just act different. You can tell when you bring them out, they're relaxed, most of them. You can do anything with them. It's different. And to tell you the truth, they're easier to train.
Really?
The top horses are much easier because you can train hard on them and they get better. You don't worry about them. They always eat. They always take care of themselves. They're not into everything going on and acting up. And yeah, I think every good quality horse. Kenneth Joy was the easiest horse in the world to train.
Huh. Well, that's part two of Rick's question. He wanted to know if those differences in personalities have any effect on their racing performances, and it sounds to me like you're saying it does because you can train them differently.
It's huge. It's really big. And I think it's something physical, too. I think what they do is probably easier on them, and so they don't get as wired up a lot of times. And it's a big difference.
Tim, do you notice a difference in the personalities of those types of horses when you're out there sharing those photographs?
You know, I spent a lot of time at a lot of different barns, and I'll tell you this, that, you know, Torpedo Anna is not treated any better from the health than a horse that is a maiden in 10 starts. They treat them all equally. They're all their kids. And as far as their personalities, if I have a bag of carrots or peppermints, they all want them. They all get them. But I don't think that the Torpedo Annas or the, you know, Sovereignties or just go on down the line, I don't think they act any differently than the other horses. They're all in the same barn. I mean, you know, the Sovereignty obviously in Bill Mott's barn, but I just don't think that they're not treated any differently by the people that tend to them. They love them all.
Yeah, they're not. None of them are treated different. They're just some of them act different.
No, I get that too. But yeah, I don't see. I mean, I don't see any of them acting differently when they're in their stalls. I don't see. But then again, I'm not a trainer, which is probably a good thing. So,
Dale, do horses' personalities evolve throughout their racing career, or is it pretty much the horse comes in as a 2-year-old, what you see is what you get for the rest of the time?
No, especially the colts, they really evolve. It's like little bull, big bull. I mean, they really, their personality gets a lot more aggressive. And I mean, it's just nature. As they grow and get bigger, they want to be the king of the barn, and you can tell it.
Who's the most charismatic horse you've ever had?
Kitten's Joy.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can ask me any question about any positive attribute of a horse, and I'll end up the answer of mine is Kitten's Joy. He was just a different breed, and I'll tell the story 100 times that he and Roses and May, which was a complete opposite of him, was always trying to bite you and attack you, and he was smart, but he was just mean and always hard to handle. They stood side by side their whole careers in the barn. Just by chance, when they came in, before they ever ran, they were in the stalls together next to each other. And I could swear Kitten's Joy would look at him and shake his head. Why you got to act like that?
Where was Shackelford on that meter?
Shackelford was like a big clown. He was just happy all the time. He was hard to handle at times. Like he would jump around, play. You know, remember we'd roll him all the time, and he would come up with on all 4 feet, flying in there, and just. Yeah. But it was never really mean or crazy. He was just so full of energy and happy.
Do you know now? This I don't know if you think this question is it's completely out of left field, but do the good ones look down on the bad ones?
I don't know. That's a good question. You know, what's really interesting about horses, period. Like you can take a bunch of mares especially, and you put them all in the field, and for a half an hour they will fight with one another, and there will become a pecking order. And if you put one bucket of feed out there, the dominant mare, filly or mare, will eat first, and the rest will stand back, and it goes right down the line. And if you add another mare into that field, it'll take a half hour more, and they'll readjust the whole pecking order themselves. And you know that goes back, I'm sure, to the wild, where the strong survived.
So they know who the top dogs are.
They would if you ever put them out in the field together. And a lot of times it's not the one that's the best racehorse. I've asked a lot of guys that race horses if the dominant yearling, and if there's any correlation to him being the best racehorse, and none of them say that they can say yes or no.
Huh.
Wow. Dale, which horse currently in your barn has the biggest personality?
That's a good question. I like my little 2-year-old Bob Brodsky's got a lot of personality. He's cool. And there's different types of personalities. Like I got this filly up here now, Ivory and Ebony. She's my go-to for any kids and people that come around that don't know horses and want to go pet one. She's the most lovable. Tim, I think, didn't you try to give her some peppermints?
I did.
You took your crowd over. That's the one everybody comes to. Who can we pet on? It's always have one. It's always a filly that everybody can go up and love on and play with.
Ken, but Bobrovsky doesn't let anything past him in the netting either, right?
No, he doesn't. Nothing gets by Bobrovsky.
Well done, Timmy.
Patio Parado had a lot of personality. He would go out in the mornings, and if a horse came by, he would holler and snicker and talk to him.
Well, Coach Rocks wasn't Coach Rocks like that too a little bit?
Coach Rocks was more level of a laid-back filly. She was one you could go up and pet on.
Yeah. Who's the meanest one you had?
The meanest? You got to put Roses and May up there with them.
Boy, he had it all, didn't he?
He had it all.
Rick, that's a fantastic question. If you have a question for Dale and Tim, feel free to send it to us, Mike at horseracingradio.net, or post it on our social media pages. We will get it worked into the show for you. Guys, just a couple of minutes left to wrap up the show. We've got to get to our final point of the week. But first, an update on the Showdown 4 competition. Tim, you continue to have the lead 27-21 over Moi. Dale is in third right now, the two-time defending champ, sitting in third with 17 points. But, Dale, I got to tell you, maybe a tactical error on your part. You're two also eligibles. You're alternates, not in the main body of your team. Deterministic and Bob Brodsky both winning their last two starts. So, man, you're missing out on some points there by having those two on the bench, but what can you do?
When's the trade deadline?
As we said, one of your top 5 has to bow out for some reason. Not happening right now. So we'll see how this all plays out. But Dale should have another, 20 points to his credit. He'd be way ahead right now, Timmy.
He wouldn't be way ahead. He'd be
about 10 points. That's a big margin.
That's nothing with the team I've got. I'm like the 27 Yankees.
Oh, my goodness. You didn't just go there.
I did.
We'll let him chirp.
Yeah, it's only August 9th. A lot can change.
I know a lot can change. I might break the record for the most points.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Tim, let's move on. Final point of the week. What do you got for us this week, my friend?
I'm wanting to say this for a whole week. Saratoga is going to the dogs. They got corgi races here on Sunday. 48 corgis are going to be racing on the track in different heats. And I guess it's going to be a big deal because the finals are going to be on FS1 on the Fox show. So if you're a dog lover, which I am, tune in and watch the corgis run around the track. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. That will be fun to watch. My final point is, as everybody's listening right now, I'm sitting in an airplane flying to Virginia to go to what has always been one of my favorite days of the summer, Arlington Million Day. And it's not like going back to Arlington Park, but it's going to be a great day of racing. Everybody should tune in. We got one running the Secretariat. And the reason you can hear me so clearly is we taped yesterday.
I love it. Dale, safe travels, my friend. Good luck in the Secretariat.
All right, guys, next week.
All right. Timmy, we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Sounds great. Mike,
if you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, email that topic to me, and we will do our best to work it into the show going forward. That's Mike at horseracingradio.net. I Ask the Answer is presented every week by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more and the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Check out the all-new horseracingradio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at horseracingradio.net. That's horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back Just about ready to wrap up this edition of the Equine Forum. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Want to remind you that the legendary D. Wayne Lukas is honored on the August cover of Blood Horse with an in-depth look of the Hall of Famer's career, and that is out now. Also featuring Southern California riders bringing the heat inside a strong jockey colony and shopping for champions at Fasig-Tipton's Saratoga sale. Become a subscriber for as little as $59 a year or purchase a single issue at bloodhorse.com. Told you we'd have the answer for you to this week's Impossible Trivia. Hope you got it right, but here's the answer from Lee Delapina. Lee?
Thanks, Mike. What was the name of the 1937 horse racing flick starring Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney? That was Thoroughbreds Don't Cry. Also the name of today's Legends of the Turf story.
And that, by the way, one of my favorite Legends of the Turf that my mentor Pete Coulis had ever put together. I talked with him about that one many, many times when he was still with me. Thoroughbreds Don't Cry. Hey, don't forget, if you missed any portion of the show, you can check out the podcast at your leisure, horseracingradio.net. You can do that on every podcast platform. And follow us on social media as well, at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, and so much more. My thanks to all our guests for making this show possible here this morning, including Kurt Becker for that Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim for another fun edition of I Ask, They Answer, James Scully with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Again, the podcast will be up shortly. Make sure you check it out. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Good luck at the races, and go Steelers.